The opinions expressed by tonight's guest do not represent the opinions or position of Spaced Out Radio, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with SOR Media. Listener discretion is advised. Here at Spaced Out Radio, we are about to take you higher. Broadcasting from the Rocky Mountains of Colorado to you listening around the world. This is Spaced Out Sunday with host Tessa Nicole Thomas. You can follow Tessa on our Facebook page at Spaced Out Radio, on Twitter at TessaTNT, and you can subscribe to her YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio for the archive. But we break on command 'cause women rule the world. Buckle up, space travelers. Let the countdown begin.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's time to go for a ride with host Tessa Nicole Thomas. I'm such a lucky guy, 'cause after all this time, it's like the deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening, Spaced Out Radio. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a Rocky Mountain high. Get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners and settle down snugly at mile marker 419.9 in colorful Colorado. It is Sunday, November 25th, Monday, November 26th for those of you on the East Coast and beyond, and this is Spaced Out Radio. I hope you guys had a rockin' week, an awesome weekend, and an even more awesome day, and I hope this evening is awesome for you as well. I'm your host, TessaTNT, and I am live tonight broadcasting from beautiful Bayfield, Colorado. We are 150,000 strong nightly on Spaced Out Radio Network, spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, Paranormal Radio, TalkStream Live, as well as Deep Talk Radio, which you can find at deeptalkradio.com. Don't forget to head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, where you can peruse the Spaced Out Radio store and read the encounter online dealing with everything strange, paranormal, and odd. So tonight I have a treat for all my guys and gals out there. Tonight we will be speaking to and getting to know Mr. Matt DeMille, and I'm so excited to have him back this evening. Oh, let's see. I lost my my bio for him. Let me pull that back up really quick. But Matt DeMille is actually a relative of Mr. Cecil DeMille. And here it is. Half alien Montauk, Frankenfreak from Hellywood, blood of Cecil B., father of Hollywood, master degree AFI 2010, the Harvard of Hollywood. Like Cecil B., a brother Freemason. Fiancé worked at Disneyland, was going to be married there. Hollywood dark forces had other plans. Montauk survivor. Stranger things happened for real in 1983 to him. Before film, self-publishing RPGs, he wears many geek badges. Family history of paranormal occurrences, quite a tale to be told of Trump and time travel. He's a messenger, warning, a grim one, and only half human physically and psychologically. He's not the nicest person in the world, but he doesn't pretend to be anything other than what he is. A messenger telling the truth as he knows it, and will speak to whomever will listen. Matt, welcome back to the show. I'm so excited to have you back again.
Thank you for having me back. I'm grateful for this opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, you're the first show to ever ask me back. I've scared everyone else off.
Really? Well, I had such a great time with you last time, so I'm really excited to have you back again.
Well, I'm happy to be here, so let's see what trouble we can get into.
Yeah, let's cause all kinds of shenanigans. So yeah, we have a number of different things that we were going to be talking about, and you had mentioned that you and, is it your great-grandfather? Cecil DeMille?
There's huge in the bloodline, you mean Cecil?
Yeah.
It goes back to the 19th century. The family line split when they came to the New World. One half went to Canada, one half went to Hollywood. But it's an actual bloodline. It's very distant, but in Hollywood, that's enough to open doors. They like that sort of thing.
Yeah, blood can be very important, and you got some good genetics going on there.
Very strange genetics, a lot of coincidences. And those that are new to my story, I know it sounds strange. I know it sounds, oh, there's too much. He's got to be making it up. I've got the evidence. I mean, I've got my birth certificate. I've got my AFI degree. I've got my Masonic degrees. All these things I claim, I can prove. So I just want to set that down for the next few hours. If it sounds like I'm stretching credibility, I'm happy to put the evidence on the table. So it's a distant bloodline to Cecil B. DeMille, but of all the names to have when you go to Hollywood, I didn't even consider the significance when I went there. I just wanted to go make movies. Didn't even know the connection when I went there. Didn't know about Masonry either when I went there. That was all learned later.
Yeah, and it's always so very interesting when you do find these things out about yourself and about your family. It's like, wow. So you said you got an AFI degree there. What exactly is that?
The American Film Institute is considered the Juilliard or the Harvard of Hollywood, and it's a 2-year program. It's a conservatory school. You don't have textbooks, and you don't have a grading system. It's a pass-fail type of thing. And they just start you working with professionals, and they work you right into the industry while at school. So you get to meet and rub elbows with all the people. As a production designer, I got to go on all the studio lots. I got to sneak around and see where all the bodies were. I mean, I got to review the sound stages for where I would film my thesis. Well, that's what they thought. They didn't notice the Indiana Jones hat I was wearing as I was going all around Hollywood. That's
and you sent me that picture. That's a pretty awesome picture. You are wearing your hat, and you're in there by the, what is that?
My Facebook picture.
Yeah.
That's my my Blue Lodge. For those unfamiliar with Masonry, Blue Lodge is like your home lodge. That's your degrees 1 through 3, and where you hang out with a smaller group of brothers. There's other lodges like Scottish Rite, and that's for degrees 4 and onward, and that's usually a bigger group, but it's not as comfortable. The Blue Lodge that's why I have it as my Facebook picture, and I built them in arc, so I just like that there. The hat, though, that's a genuine, authentic Disneyland $45 Indiana Jones Outpost fedora that I take everywhere. I love that hat. And it passed inspection one day. For example, at AFI, at class one day, we had Deborah Landis come in. And amongst other credits to her is Indiana Jones. She was the costume designer for Raiders of the Lost Ark. And she brought the hat with her. She brought one of the hats from set in a box with Harrison Ford's sweat still stung on it. And I got to make comparisons. They're actually pretty good hats at Disneyland. They actually make good quality, or they did, I don't know anymore. But I'm actually giving that hat a legitimate Indiana Jones history. I wear it to lodge. I've worn it lots of places. Just seen a lot of action. Thanks for indulging. I wanted to tell the tale of my hat.
Oh, no worries. Good hats are important. They really are. I have a bunch of hats here in the studio that I like to wear different ones on different days, and giving it some character and all the things that you've put your hat through is pretty awesome. And the arc that you built for the lodge really reminded me a lot of Indiana Jones. It reminded me of, I believe, was it the first one? Where? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, it was the first one. It was Lost Ark.
Yes.
I thought that's what you're good.
Yeah, super awesome.
Another synchronicity, when I went through AFI, they ask you during orientation, what is your favorite film? Most people say obvious things to suck up. Citizen Kane, Gone with the Wind, or whatever. I said Raiders of the Lost Ark, not realizing at the time the significance that it has to the craft, to Masonry, to Cecil B. DeMille, and all of that. I was just having fun. But when you go through Masonry, unfortunately you don't learn anything about Baphomet. There's nothing about Satan, but the Ark of the Covenant is all over the place. And that was like, I didn't know anything about that when I did my thesis on Indiana Jones and all of this, my bloodline, knowing nothing about it. It was just meant to be. Oh, very strange story. I had to build that ark for the lodge after learning that. I said, how come we don't have one? Well, I'm going to solve that.
We actually have someone trying to call in right now. Do you want to take this call?
Sure, but let's keep it kind of brief. You focus on whatever you've prioritized for questions. But sure, let's take the call. Why not?
All right. Well, area code 719. Who are we talking to?
Hey.
Yeah, who are we talking to?
Talking to Ian. Wishing you a happy birthday.
Oh, thank you so much. Good to hear from you, Ian.
Saw you on Facebook, just posting. Figured I'd give you a little ring.
Well, I'm so glad you did. Generally, we don't get calls this early, but we decided we'd take your call.
Awesome. Well, I'm applying for a job. Well, I'm actually interviewing for a job with the county tomorrow, and trying to move past this job I have with the roofing company. And I'm just looking for love and light and support and prayers into this new chapter of my life.
Well, I'm sending you love and light and all the good luck in the world for you to get this job tomorrow. I know roofing is quite difficult.
Well, sure.
Just want to say, may the source be with you.
May the source be with you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I usually don't call. I always see your posts on Facebook, but I've been praying to God and the upper powers and the higher powers, and just to guide me into what I need to do and give me the strength I need. And I have a great job right now, but working for the county would just be so much better and give me so much less stress and strife. And I figured I'd wish you a happy birthday, and I'd ask for the best blessings possible that I could get from you guys.
Well, definitely sending you a bunch of good, positive energy, love and light, and I'm sure you got this. And with a government job comes all the good benefits as well, so I'm going to keep my fingers, toes, hairs, and eyes crossed for you.
Toes, hairs, and eyes. I love you guys. Thank you so much.
Love you too, Ian. And yeah, keep me updated and let me know how that goes.
Will do. Thank you guys so much. And you just brought a warmth into my heart here, and I appreciate it.
Aw. No worries. I'm so glad you called, and thank you for the happy birthday wishes.
Absolutely. I hope you have a great happy birthday, and with all the best blessings and luck. And I hope you and family get to enjoy a great day.
Me too. That'll be a good one.
Well, I miss Durango, but I'm out here in the Springs, and I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
No worries. Say hello to the wife and kiddos for us, and yeah, good luck on that interview. I know you'll do a great job, and I'm pretty sure you're going to get it.
Oh, I need it, and I'll get it. Thank you so much.
Thanks again for calling in, Ian. It was so good to hear from you.
I just figured I'd touch base. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Oh,
have a blessed.
Go ahead, Matt. What were you saying?
This sounds bad since everyone's listening, but my phone's about to die. I have a second phone. Let me send you the number on Facebook.
Oh, okay. No worries.
Sorry about that. What a crazy situation.
All right, well, I'll be looking for... Okay, I got that phone number right now. I'm going to call you on that one.
Alrighty, guys. I'm going to let you go, and I hope you have a blessed evening, and give me your prayers for tomorrow. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Ian. Like I said again, it was so good to hear from you, and I'm going to keep all those things crossed for you, and I know it's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good day tomorrow.
It's going to be the best. Now, you don't usually call in on you guys, but I figured I would, so thank you.
No worries. I'm so glad you did. You have a good rest of your night.
Oh, just about to fall asleep. Thank you.
No worries. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Have a good night.
All right. Good night. Okay, so I'm going to call you back on this other phone you have, Matt.
Got the DeLorean of phones going here.
we got different phones going on. I just heard me ringing through. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that, everyone. I'm an old-fashioned person, and my Windows has gone crazy the last week, and my Skype's not working, so I'm on old phones, and I compare it. I feel like my technology right now is the DeLorean circa Back to the Future Part 3, circa 1885. I got it all jury-rigged and taped together.
Oh, really?
It's basically, well, I'm using a landline. We're talking 1990s technology here. And usually that phone has hours and hours of juice. I charged it all day. I don't know what the heck happened. Maybe, dark. Bad luck seems to follow me. That's why I let people ask me to come on to shows and things. I don't seek them out. I'm seen jinxed everywhere I go. Don't like to tempt it, but here we are. So let's keep going.
Yeah, and we were actually talking about battery drainage last night, and we were talking to Ron Moorhead, and he's got a bunch of Bigfoot sounds and stuff, and he was talking about on investigations how he'd get drainage on his batteries. I know when I have any sort of paranormal encounter, no matter if my phone is fully charged or whatnot, it's gone within moments, and it's just insane how that can work.
Just last night.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I believe in being prepared, even technologically, so I've got about 2 or 3 backup phones here. Let them drain as many batteries as they want.
Yeah, that's super kind of insane when that happens. It's like, wow. But at least you got a good flow of backup going on there.
Yep. Let me do one more Back to the Future switch here to the more reliable unit. is sounding hilarious to everyone out there in iPhone land. Sorry about that. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Hear me okay?
Yeah, sounding good.
Yeah, and we got Doc Brown's DeLorean circa 1885 with my technology going. Okay, let's get back on track.
So we were talking about your godfather of Hollywood and Masonry and how you had built the Ark and such. And we actually had someone in the chat room saying he was going to call in with a question on Masonic temples and bloodline families, which he is.
Okay, that sounds like a good place to keep on rolling.
Yeah. So there's a lot of theories when it comes to Masonry, and a lot of people thinking a lot of conspiratorial stuff. Can you tell us a little bit more about Masonry and what you've discovered with it?
Well, I can run the gauntlet from naivete to the conspiracy standard to being a Mason. In Hollywood, I knew nothing about... I mean, I knew that Masons were there. I had heard about Masons earlier in life, heard all the usual, like, the Founding Fathers are Masons, and I'm like, well, what does that mean? I didn't give it a thought. And it was only until after I ran into some very real, crazy people that wonder about pizza and pedophiles and Satanists and communists and evil in Hollywood. Yes, 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 and yes. It's all true. I've seen some of it firsthand. But I didn't know anything about Masonry. As my bio noted, Hellywood tore my fiance and I apart. That's all part of it. When I left Hollywood. I didn't want anything to do with it, understandably, after all of that. It was an intense few months at the end. When I came back, I had a lot of time on my hands, so I started studying everything, looking for answers to what happened. And naturally, that led me down the traditional conspiracy route of all Masons are satanic, yada, yada, yada. And for a while, I thought they were. I was in full agreement. Oh, those evil Masons. But I'm a researcher, and I know what it's like to be persecuted without trial. It's in my nature to research, research, research. And after a while, I started to realize that the Masons got a bad rap. It's easy to pin superstitions and fears on them, but are they really what's going on? No. There are factions within factions within factions. There are secret societies that are as evil as everyone thinks, such as Skull and Bones at Yale. But those aren't Masons. Masons are... It's an interesting enigma throughout history, how much it has to do with history, how much it's a skeleton key to understanding everything for the last 1,000 years. And that's all true. I mean, I study this stuff, I bring it up with the brothers, and they look at me, but they can't dispute it. They're like, where do you get this? And I'm like, look it up for yourself. But after a few years of hearing one side of the argument, they were all evil, when I was trying to tell my friends about pedophiles in Hollywood, for example, my friends were not listening to me. They were giving me the usual Snopes brush off and that sort of dismissal when I really needed support. Mm-hmm. And after I lost all my friends, circa 2015, none of them wanted to hear about Bilderberg, none of them wanted to hear about Bohemian Grove. Surely none of them wanted to learn about the children that go disappearing at Disneyland. Oh no, that would upset their little worldview. Sorry, folks, I kind of went through the trauma of it. I got severe PTS from it. I'd like to talk about it. They didn't care. So after a few years, I thought, maybe I'll just knock on the Masonic door and see what happens. They've been given a bum rap. I've been given a bum rap. You can see where this went, and so I went through the degrees and found out, it's not about Satan at all. It's about George Washington. It's more that American flag in my picture is there, and it's always there. Every lodge has a flag. It's really more like the Boy Scouts than it is the Illuminati.
Yeah, and you just heard that cough there. It sounds like I had a frog in my throat, but that's actually Alan on the other line that was wanting to call in about Masonry.
Yeah, hi, Cash.
Hey, Alan. How's it
Matt.
going?
Hello.
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Good.
Hey, you know me. Your daughter okay?
Yeah, she's great.
Oh, that's cool. I bet she's getting big by now. Anyway, listen, Matt, I've been listening to your story, and I find it very interesting. Yeah, no problem. I sense a deep sadness in you, though. I mean, you're almost, I mean, you're like lost. You're lost to not only the world, but to yourself. This is unreal. Maybe I can help.
I'm in a unique situation where well, you know, this is the second time I've been on a show. Being asked back, I like to be rewarding of a little bit of courage or sacrifice on my part.
Well, that's called service to others, my friend.
I have things to do in life, and I had to make the choice to walk away from things 7 years ago to protect people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a hard thing to live with, but the alternatives were not, they were a lot worse.
Well, that tells me that you are a positively polarized human being. I mean, you are doing your best in service to humanity. That I can see. But it's taken a heavy toll on your psyche.
Well, I like to joke how even though I dress like Indiana Jones, and we all know Indiana Jones gets the hell beat out of him in every movie.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the truth. Yes.
Every Indiana Jones movie is a Masonic ritual.
Well, let me riddle off this little story. This is true. This is about my family. My son was invited to join the Masons a year ago. They prior to that, they did the family heritage, the family tree, and traced our name back 1,009 years to the Viking King Eric the Red. Then they invited him to join the Masons, okay? And when he got in there, they kept offering him promotion after promotion after promotion to do this or to do that. And finally, he was up to 8th degree in less than a year.
Where did this happen?
In Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit, Michigan.
Now here's the situation. I am a near-death experiencer at 14 months old. And I come to find out that I am gifted. I'm a 6th density wanderer. I'm incarnate 6th density wanderer of the family of Ra. Are you familiar with Ra?
Very much so.
Okay. There you go. That is my soul group. And I am here in service to others. I changed my name on all social medias. This is not my real name. Alan is my real name, but that's my middle name. My first name is Randy. My initials are R.A., Ra. My son's initials are R.A. And it had to be R.A. like mine, not my name Junior, but it was imperative that he was named R.A. too, for the reason that back then, before I knew any of this, I had the feeling that I was different. You know what I'm saying? Now the Masons come along, and it took my son about a year to figure out what they were doing, and they were grooming him for the higher levels of the bad side of the Masonic Temple. Do you understand?
I got to stop you right there. There's a few inconsistencies I have to point out.
No problem.
Beware of what's called clandestine lodges. No proper Masonic lodge, no official Masonic lodge can ask you to join. They cannot recruit. That's against the rules. So you're dealing with a friend of my son he works with, his boss actually recruited him. Well, that's totally against protocol. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, you're supposed to go on your own to ask to be a part of it, right?
Yes, it has to be done of your own free will. They cannot solicit. It's forbidden. So if you're dealing with people that in any way, they're already rule breakers. So the whole rest of the story is there is no dark side to Masonry. Sorry to disappoint people. I'm 32nd degree, and I hang out with a lot of 33rds. There's no goat's pants dancing. There's no dark secret meetings. There's nothing like that. That's a lot.
Now, I have to disagree. There is a Luciferian faction to the Masonic Lodge. George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and Thomas Jefferson went to war with that faction of the Masonic Lodge. That's why the United States Constitution is endowed in freedom. Do you understand? But they were all Masons, and they broke free from the English Masonic Lodge, formed their own lodges here, and endowed everybody in this country with freedom, as opposed to slavery there.
There's a difference between the old world lodges and the new world lodges.
Now, you said child pedophilia and all that. You know darn well what's going on in England. And that all traces back. Okay, you know where I'm headed. Well, there is a Luciferian side to the Masonic Temple, as far as I'm concerned.
May I speak uninterrupted and address this question?
Yes, go ahead.
There is no satanic or Luciferian Masonry. That is totally wrong. There are bad apples in every box. There's always going to be people that do bad things. In a police force, you always have corrupt cops. Doesn't matter how good the rest of them are. What happened with the Founding Fathers is a continuation of 1,000 years of history. After the Templar had their little Friday the 13th mishap with the Vatican back in 1307.
1300, and yes, okay.
They split. They went through France. You have the whole business with the Cathars. And then you had what's not bad Masonry, but I'll say bad Templars, went and set up with the Octagon, which is the Western banking cartel.
Piratery.
The ones that control London, Wall Street, everybody. But that's a dark offshoot of Templar Knights. Masonry didn't come into existence really until the last 300 or 400 years, centuries after the Templar. So it's the continuation of the same tradition, yes. But the Masons, there's nothing in Masonry. Like I said, there's no Baphomet, there's no Satan, there's no Luciferian anything.
I'm just remembering a Mason hanging by the neck underneath the London Bridge a couple of centuries ago, hung by his fellow Masons.
Rules and obligations, I took them. And while they're probably realistically not enforced in today's culture, we don't have shootouts. Well, actually we do. That's a bad example.
Yeah.
It's Wild West anymore. It's not the medieval times. We don't burn people at the stake anymore. We crash their airplanes. Yeah, but I'd like to think that the brothers don't do that anymore if you violate the oaths, but that's one of the reasons that I walk a fine line. I don't say everything publicly because I don't want to take that chance. But I'll tell you this, there's very few secrets in Masonry. That's another misnomer. You can talk about the rituals. You can talk about the degrees. The only things you can't talk about are the passwords and the handshakes, the ways we identify each other. And that's out of more of an act of trust. As they say, if we can't trust you with a handshake or a password, we can't trust you with anything.
Are you still a Mason? You're still a Mason now?
Oh, yeah.
Are you a Mason at the current time?
Yes. Yeah, for life, as they say.
Okay, I was just asking. I didn't know if you were still in or not.
As said in The Man Who Would Be King, once a Mason, always a Mason. That's part of the
My son got out in a year.
Well, again, he was dealing with a clandestine lodge. They don't go by the normal rules.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and he figured that out. It didn't take him long to figure it out. He's a very intelligent person.
Well, he ran into some bad people. Good to get away from them. But don't think
did.
That represents all of Masonry. It's like any religious zealot or any wacko out there. It doesn't represent the whole of the religion. There's always people that do bad things.
Well, there you go. Now, you just answered my question.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let me... Okay, so I think we're back. Can you guys still see me in the chat room? Let me call back Matt, this is insane. I can't believe this just happened. Okay. 4 participants. Which was the last number that I had? Okay, hold on. It's 253460 number. Call. Oh no.
Hello, Tess. You got Randy.
Hello.
Oh, hey. Oh no.
Sorry
Okay.
about that. That's,
Yeah, that-
that's 3 phones now I've gone through already tonight.
That was crazy.
Has been forwarded to an automatic voice message
Uh-oh.
system.
I'm gonna get over here.
2 4 4 5
Not
8
me.
9 9 is not available. At the tone, please record your message.
Okay,
Who is that?
I think I got rid of it. Well, I tried to call your number back, and then it was coming through as all the
Well-
numbers popped up, so that was odd.
Weird.
Right?
Well, it's going to be a crazy night for it, I guess. Let's see how many more batteries we can drain. Maybe I'll set this on the desk and not hold it. Maybe it's electromagnetism. I have a history of burning things out, so...
I don't think it was you. I think it was my 3-year-old causing havoc in the other room. She said she thought she was turning off the Christmas tree lights, but they're all plugged into the same stick, and so that was... Oh my goodness.
Got a gift then, because it drained the phone on my end. 2 phones. While we were doing the call back there, I was going around the house replanting them in the charger. I'm like, what the heck? What's going on?
Yeah, super crazy. I'm so sorry that happened. And yeah, all my kids are gifted. I received gifts from my mom, as did my siblings, and then my kids are gifted. And out of all my kids, she's the one that I know has had a past life. All the crazy things that she's told me. And starting at age probably 1.5, she started talking about this past life, and she often asks me, do you remember that? And I don't remember, but I do believe you. So I'm interested to see what she becomes in years to come.
Oh, she's off to a great start, because she's already she's remembering, and I don't think you're going to be one of those that forces her to forget. I think you'll nurture her consciousness, and she'll remember more outside of time than like getting lost in the Matrix. Hopeful to hear.
Well, I'm so sorry about that. That I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening?
Well, I think, this is this craziness that surrounds my life on almost a daily basis. I think all of us out there are getting used to that. It seems like even we who are into the supernatural and the metaphysical still want to say that can't be, that everyone's life has gotten so amplified with synchronicity, with all sorts of paranormal activity going on. It's happening, and it's exciting. It's very exciting. I'm
Yeah, I
anxious
know.
to see what happens in the future, too.
For sure. And when I was a kid, my mom was killed by a drunk driver when I was 5, almost 6, and then my dad shortly after abandoned us, and we went to our grandparents, but they couldn't handle us. We were too young and they were too old, and so my aunt and uncle came and got us, and my aunt is now my mom. She adopted me this last May, but she is really freaked out by the paranormal, and anytime I tell stories to my cousin's sister now, she's my sister, she always has been, but I tell her stories, and then she'd run and go, well, Mom, Tessa just told me this, and she'd come back and tell me that it was just my imagination, and that didn't really happen, and all these other things, and I knew it did, so I didn't let it close that door on me, but yeah, I do love to nurture my kids, and I want them to envelop their gift, and I want them to grow stronger, and be able to hold on to that, because they do say in the last days, like, more and more people are going to have these gifts, and it's for a reason, because we do need them for whatever's ahead of us. And I just try to help my fellow peeps out with that.
The Great Awakening is upon us. And I'm not one to offer parental advice. I can only say what worked for me. And my parents, blessedly, they didn't tell me what to think. They just told me, find your own path. You know, no enforcement, or my peers, family. I wasn't in an environment to say you have to listen to this religion or this way of thinking. And I know that you're going to let your children flourish. And anyone out there, let them flourish. They're here to help us.
Indeed. Well, Max in the chat room was wondering, what does Matt say is the purpose of secrecy, or does he claim there is no secrecy either? There are certain things that are secret, right? But other things you guys share? As far as Masonry? Yeah.
I think I already answered that, but I'll go. It's worth revisiting, so I'll go into it. The only things that are secret nowadays, post-internet world, I guess, they've conceded that everyone knows everything. Only the handshakes and the passwords and ways we identify each other. I ask them all the time because I have to walk a fine line. If you've listened to my YouTube, you know that I do hold back, but I don't hold back as much as most people. And I'm often worried I'm going to stray somewhere I shouldn't and say something I shouldn't regarding Masonry or whatever. So whenever I'm with the brothers in any situation, I work into the conversation. Yeah, people out there in the internet, conspiracy and all that, all our secrets. What secrets do we have? What aren't we allowed to talk about? They always remind me, just the handshakes and just the passwords. You're sure about that? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to talk about everything else. Because it's important. To me, it's a shame that in the old days, the rituals were secret. A lot, when you go to Masonry, a lot of the rituals that you learn, and it is a lot of hard work. You don't just go through it. You got to do work. You got to memorize obligations, and you have to translate cipher. That's one of the big ones. Is a lot of the Masonic rituals are in cipher. But in the past, you weren't supposed to talk about that either, and there are still many traditional Masons who will say, well, you shouldn't talk about the stuff that's in cipher. That's why it's in cipher. But you can. Different parts of the world, they're all different. Every state is different. What the caller brought in earlier, Ian, about the old world, the Masons over in Europe are very different than America. Very different. Much more traditional, you know. I bet you I wouldn't have qualified to be a Mason over there. They would never have let me in the door.
Oh.
Listen, Alex Jones, get out of here.
You're out.
You're out of here. Not what they're like in America, and especially more on the West Coast. A lot more traditionally what Masons were supposed to be. Whoever's got the free will, we do not judge here. And they didn't. There's people of every religion. In my Blue Lodge, for example, there's mostly Christian. They're mostly churchgoers, believe it or not. But Muslim, we got Muslims, we got Jews, we got my first master is Rastafarian. It was like being initiated by Bob Marley. It was awesome. Cannabis is essential to Masonry as well, gotta say. Can't leave out the sacred herb.
That's right. Well, I think God put all plants and seed-bearing things here for us to use, and, you know, people have talked down about it for a long time, and it really is not a bad thing. Like, I'd rather be using that for things that I need it for. I call it my tea time, other than using other medications that are from the pharmaceutical company that are wreaking havoc on my organs and my mind and whatever else it can affect just for them to make that money, when I have this right here that I can grow on my own, which I prefer, and it is the best medicine in the world.
Absolutely. And fittingly, like Masonry, misunderstood, demonized.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually about freedom. At the heart of it, freedom, true freedom of consciousness. And that's why the New World Order, Hearst, and all of them didn't want us to have it.
Well, Bill Hauser in the chat room was asking, Rogue elements and Freemasons with different high-up degrees and clandestine Masonic history? I'm not sure.
They do exist. There are examples I could give.
Sure.
I think that's what he's getting at. For example, P2, Propaganda 2, was a lodge in Italy a few decades ago. Everything a conspiracy theorist would want with the evil, evil Masons. It was a bunch of bad apples. They were infiltrated, however. Here's the deep story, and I learned this by talking to Masons, so this comes out of the library, if you will. As Indiana Jones says, get in the library, then get out of the library. Learn, apply. There's an element that what the caller earlier was talking about, evil Masons. No, fallen Templar. Think the Jedi Knight. Those are more like the Masons. Then you have the Sith Lords. That's like the fallen Templar back to Switzerland and the Octagon banking cartel. That's your New World Order. That's the heart of it. They are in league with the Knights of Malta, which are in league with the Vatican, which were in league with the Nazis. The Nazis, by the way, kicked Masons out, as did Soviet Russia, as did Communist China. There are no Masonic lodges in China. That's why Indiana Jones got run out of Club Obi-Wan in 1935. That's when it happened. That's what Spielberg was telling you. Communism, socialism does not like Freemasons. Only now are Masonic lodges beginning to reappear in Russia because they're going largely Christian. But there's always bad apples, and the P2 Lodge was set up by the Black Jesuit Pope and the Knights of Malta, the Sith Lords of the New World Order, to make Masons look bad, just like they do with politics and Hollywood and everything else. They infiltrate, subvert, and corrupt. But that doesn't mean Masonry itself and their secrets. It's more a study of the esoteric, the Ark of the Covenant, symbolic meanings of things through history. It's a mystery school. Nothing inherent. There is no God in Masonry. There's no deity. No Baphomet, which is more to do with mushrooms anyway. But, it's the baptism of the blood or something. It has to do with the red mushroom, not actual blood. It just got changed over millennia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The satanic appearance that people, the goat head, the Baphomet head that people like to ascribe to Masonry, I think comes out of the Order of the Eastern Star. There is a branch of Masonry called the Order of the Eastern Star that's about 100 years old, 101 years old, I think now, 1917, which is a female Masonic fraternity. So women can be Freemasons. And they use a rainbow star, which is technically upside down, so it looks like the goat's head, but people can apply on that what they want. For the few years I've been talking to Eastern Star ladies and such, they just do what everyone does in a fraternity. They do their bake sales, their garage sales, and no wild orgies smearing blood on anyone. Sorry, just doesn't happen.
And there was another question from the chat room. I'm sorry. What does guest think about Bill Schnobelin's story?
Unfamiliar with the name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it either. So maybe he can come in, and that's Bougie. Maybe you can come back and reiterate on what exactly that story is.
Perhaps by some other. Maybe there's a nickname. I know the story associated, but I don't know that name.
So you do know a story that's associated with that?
I'm just saying maybe by any other name there might be a story clicking, but I've never heard of that name before, so I can't comment. Sorry.
Okay. And you said you had something clicking there. What came to mind?
Oh, nothing. I'm just throwing out the possibilities.
Oh, okay. And, like you were saying, with any other religion or organization, there are some bad apples out there, and there are fundamentalist versions of certain things. People have their certain beliefs, so they run another direction with it. And I was telling somebody here in the chat room that my husband was actually approached by someone to join the Masons, and then doing the show, I learned so many different things. And from another Mason, they were saying you don't get invited. You have to go, like you said, of your own free will to ask to be a part of this organization. So it makes you wonder what this person had in mind and what sort of a fellowship or lodge this actually is.
Yeah, beware of clandestine lodges. They pop up all the time. One thing that happens in Masonic meetings is if a Mason has violated laws to the point of excommunication, that happens, especially when you break the normal law. If you're convicted of murder or something, this has happened. I've heard this happen. Oh, a Mason went bad with the law. He's in jail. Well, he's excommunicated for giving us a bad name. We don't need this crap. You're supposed to make society better. You're not supposed to make it worse. So those happen. And back to P2 for a moment and clandestine lodges in Hollywood. This is part of my confusion. Not knowing anything about Masonry, being in the heart of Pedowood, there were people that solicited me to join various groups, including Masonry. So it was easier for me to believe the bad press about Masons when I was trying to catch up on everything Bilderberg, etc., in the years after I left. But there is in Hollywood, and I tell the brothers this, I tell Masons this, you have a new P2 Lodge scandal brewing in Hollywood, California. Everyone down there is so corrupt they've lost their way. Back to the caller, I haven't lost my way. My way is just through the darkness. And Indiana Jones would have it no other way. Life's not all sunshine and rainbows. You know, but and that's an ugly truth that I don't think Masons want to accept themselves, that there's always another. There's a new box of apples, there's going to be a bad apple in it. This time it's in Hollywood, not Italy. But it's there. So beware, if anyone says, would you like to be a Mason? Walk away. If they say, have you ever considered being one? Like if you're hanging out, like if someone talks to me, I'm public about being a Mason. It's okay to, I guess, broach the subject, kind of like if someone was saying, I don't know what I'm doing in life, or I don't know where I'm going, maybe I should find Jesus, or I should go join ISIS and blow myself up, or something, whatever they're going to do. You can say, well, ever considered Masonry? And that's about as far as you can go. And that's even pushing it. You just want to make people aware of it. A debate that we have sometimes is how much we should do that. And I've told Masons, if I had been properly informed about Masonry, I would have joined years earlier. The problem is, we don't properly inform people. So I'm doing that now. I'm informing people the way it is.
Well, I'm so glad you are.
And it should be of your own free will, because that's what everything else is based on. If you're pressured to join Masonry, it's like having a crooked cornerstone in a building. Everything built from that is going to be crooked and off, and it's just the wrong path.
No bueno. Well, on that note, I hate to interrupt you, but we got to go to our first break. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these messages.
Looking for nighttime adventure? Old school radio that delves into everything out of the norm? Then check us out at Spaced Out Radio. This is Dave Scott. Every Monday through Friday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, we're going to take you on a wild ride ranging from conspiracies to true crime and every ghost, alien, and Sasquatch story in between. We're always live, and we're always interactive with you. So join us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, we own the night.
Hey, guess what? You can now get your brand new Spaced Out Radio swag at spacedoutradio.com. We've brought the store back with all new items for you to pick out and pick up for yourself, your family, or friends. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, we got it all. All you have to do is head to our website and click on Store. Choose what you want and it's shipped to you. The Spaced Out Radio store is right there for you. Come shop with us at spacedoutradio.com. Then we can own the night together.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com. If you're heading to Vancouver, make sure you stop by the official bar of Spaced Out Radio, the Moose Vancouver. It's the place to party in YVR. At the corner of Nelson and Granville, the Moose Vancouver is always up to speed with a kitchen staff that serves great food. All food on the menu, $6.95 to $8.95. There's a reason the Moose Vancouver is recognized as one of the hottest spots on the West Coast. Get your horns up for the Moose Vancouver.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You can follow Tessa on Twitter at TessaTNT, on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. Now, back to Spaced Out Weekend host, Tessa Nicole Thomas.
Hear the sound again, voices dancing in my head, smile wide, drowning slowly as the echoes rise.
Hey guys, welcome back. So great to have you, and sorry about that snafu with the internet and the disconnect, but luckily we're still on the same show and you don't have to look for another show. And yeah, that was just crazy. It drained Matt's phone and everything. But Matt, welcome back. It's so great to have you on the show again. I'm really excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me back. Sorry my 1885 DeLorean is sparking and button out on us here and there, but we'll keep going.
No worries. Well, touching back on what I believe it was Bushi brought up, William Schnobelin, and it says he is a fundamentalist Christian who claims to have been, amongst other things, a Satanist, a Freemason, a member of the Illuminati, and a vampire. Despite his ludicrous claims, he has a few admirers, including Jack Chick. He is so crazy, not even Henry Mackow's website can stand him.
That's a lot of credentials there. Can you run those down again? The four? Mason,
Freemason, Satanist, and vampire.
Technically, they're not mutually exclusive, but that's a lot of credentials that require a lot of proof. Let's meet at the park at noon under the high sun and talk about it. We'll see about one of those.
Yeah, and he was born, said back in 1949, into a Catholic family. But like you were saying earlier, there's different religions, different people that come from different places to join the Masonic Lodge. And so it would make sense that he would, and perhaps being that he had done that, like been born in 1949, perhaps he might have been one of the starts of a fundamentalist or a different sect of Masonry that's not quite right, really, with Masonry.
Those things happen. An example that I've cited to you before, Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley was a Mason, 33rd degree, but what did he call himself? The wickedest man on earth. And then his led to L. Ron Hubbard creating Scientology. It's back to the bad apple example. There's always a bad apple somewhere. And they create sects and cults and offshoots, and it's a shame Monty Python never made a movie about them.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Why didn't they think of it?
They came close with Life of Brian, but I could picture that same sort of wit applied to, oh, come on, why did Monty Python never make a movie about Hollywood itself?
I think we need to get Monty Python up and running again and send them these ideas. Because it would definitely be amazing. I love Monty Python. I grew up on it, and it's just...
I do believe Brother Cheese, John Cleese, is a Mason. That's a theory, but he drops hints all the time. And I'm curious about the rest of them, but good people. I love Monty Python. Who doesn't love Monty Python?
I know, right? You have to have that in your life to be able to have that healthy sense of humor and looking at life a certain way to where you can laugh at yourself and things you're going through.
You know that in the beginning of Captain America Winter Soldier, when he's got that list of things he's supposed to catch up on, how come Monty Python's not on that list?
It is so very true. If you haven't seen it, you better check it out. Monty Python is amazing. Meaning of Life, Life of Brian, like so many different variations. It's just awesome. You must partake.
And the Holy Grail.
So let's see. On the American Film Institute in 2010, you also went into MK, Laurel Canyon, Pizza Files, which someone in the chat room was saying, Pizza Files are real, commies and Satanists.
Yes, they are. They all go together like a big, nasty pizza pie. Communism is pretty godless. We all know, I mean, to those that know about communist China with their organ harvesting and the religions that get locked up and all that nasty stuff, kicking out the Masons, anything spiritual or leads to free thought, socialist countries do not like. Nazis, Soviets, Chinese. Cuba, same thing. Hollywood, they love their communism, and they love their Satanism. The Laurel Canyon crowd, Laurel Canyon's not a place I really went. It's not a place where much is happening now. It was back in the 60s. But all of the bands, all of the 60s counterculture was one big military psyop. And I did interact with people that were still is part of the Hollywood's a very small town. The industry is even smaller. Everyone knows everyone. It's weird. You're at school in your first year, and you say, well, is there a place we could film such and such? And they're like, let's go to the Universal backlot, just like that. Oh, hey, your name's DeMille. Do you want to come to this party tonight? Here's the address. And I Google it, up in the Hollywood Hills, and I'm like, where? It happens just like that. I've been up in that area, the whole Wonderland Avenue, the whole studio where they, Lookout Studio or whatever, where the Kubrick filmed parts of the moon landing. And yeah, it's all true. I talked with people. I was interacted with some people there, but the MK Ultra is everywhere now. It's not just Laurel Canyon. It's the whole industry. They perfected it back in the 60s. They had their shaman like Jim Morrison out there testing the weaponization of harmonics and mass psychology. But it's spilled out of Laurel Canyon. It's the whole country, the whole world now. But you talk to the old-timers who are involved, and I didn't know what they were talking about at the time. I was just interested in learning to make movies. But when you talk to some old Kubrick guys, say about Scotchlight, and they talk about 2001, and you're like, really? Well, I think I'll just remember that for another day.
Right.
Laurel, yeah. Like Masonry, there's times when I just have to walk a fine line, but I'll say when I came back from LA in 2011, remember the world 7 years ago, very different place. No Trump, no pizza file conspiracy, but I was talking about it, telling everyone who would listen, Hollywood's full of pedophiles and Satanists, and you're just crazy, Matt. Really? So I saw enough to convince me, as I've told others, I didn't believe in pedophiles in Hollywood because of Alex Jones. I started listening to Alex Jones because he was the only one talking about what I encountered firsthand. Take that however you want, and that's, I think, all I should say there. I value my neck. Right.
And there are people known to be attacked for speaking out against these organizations in Hollywood. It really is a powerful and prolific thing. It's pretty insane.
They will witch hunt you in a modern way. Ask Charlie Sheen. Ask Michael Jackson. Ask Joan Rivers. Ask Robin Williams. Yes, all murdered. No doubt in my mind. And they won't give two thoughts about someone like me. So I kind of maintain a low profile, but it's hard to do sometimes when I have so much inside me that I just want to let it all out.
Yeah, and that's good to do. It's good to talk about stuff.
Much. That's...
They're talking about Bill, a.k.a. William Schnobelman, biblical historian minister, sent 25 years restoring truth of biblical teachings. There's all kinds of different things, like he claimed to go up the ranks and become a 90th degree Mason. All kinds of different things. So it makes you wonder.
Nothing is a 90th degree.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist. It stops at 33, and while people will say that there are some secret plus 13 degrees, what there actually is most Masons stop at the 32nd degree, because that's as far as you can go academically. Beyond that, the 33rd is a special honor that has to be awarded for special accomplishment, and that's totally up to anyone else's judgment. But the way it works is they only award so many each year, and it's up to the Grand Lodge to distribute them in their state. And you have to do, I think it's 8 years, actually. Maybe that's where the 8th degree misconception came from in the earlier caller, but it's like a doctorate or a lawyer. You got to go 4 years for this and 4 years for that, and you're not allowed to ask for it. That's a trick. You're not allowed to say, well, when do I get the 33rd? Because that shows you're seeking it for the wrong reason. I'm kind of iffy about bringing it up right here, but this is, other degrees beyond that are kind of fun degrees. For example, recently there was a pirate degree a couple years ago up here in Gig Harbor, Bremerton, the shipyard. The Masons in that area did a pirate degree, but it's more for fun. There's no official degrees past 33. There's officership and awards and medals, and like Cub Scouts, you can get medals on your chest for doing this public service or that, whatever, but 90th degree, I've never heard. I don't believe that exists. So clandestine lodges making up their own stuff, which they will do. Aleister Crowley made up his own Masonic stuff, which is not official.
Yeah, and Kit Kat in the chat room was saying highest is 33 and a third.
Whereas Leslie Nielsen should have done a Masonic movie. Could have stumbled. There needs to be a Masonic comedy. Monty Python's Masonic Vacation, or Clark Griswold's Masonic Vacation. Come on, Hollywood, make us laugh.
Well, hey, you got a degree. Why don't you make us laugh? You got all these great ideas. Run with it.
I've actually made notes of all the funny things that have happened in Masonic rituals since I've been there in case I ever make a show. Like one person I was told going through a degree where you play dead. He fell asleep. He falls asleep in the middle of his ritual. I'm thinking, oh, God, how embarrassing.
Right.
And then, if you're a guy, you never have to worry about if you rushing in. We're starting. The gavel's coming down. Get in there. I got to go to the bathroom. You forget to zip up your fly? No problem. You got an apron covering it up. There's so much Masonic silliness that you could. Then they love it. They're a bunch of guys. They love frat humor, and you could easily make a whole bunch of movies, a TV series out of life at the lodge, a Masonic sitcom or something. It's just, I would do it if. There's been so many movies I wanted to make over the last 7 years, but I left that part of me in Hollywood. A story I've recently come out with is after I lost my heart, after we were parted by the forces down there, I had a meeting at the Birds Cafe with one of my mentors, John Muto, the designer of Home Alone and the Terminator show at Universal, to give you some of his credits. The Birds Cafe is an Alfred Hitchcock-themed cafe across the street from the Scientology L. Ron Hubbard Celebrity Center. Yeah, the one where Cruise hangs out. And I'm sitting there talking to him, and he says, well, here's this new show. Do you want to get involved on it? Black Sails. You might have heard of it. And I said, John, they took her from me. I'm not making movies anymore. Life has changed. That was 7 years ago. So I throw ideas out there. If someone wants to make them, I could advise, I could write a script or whatever, but if I'm going to build, I've talked about a new Hollywood to go with a new Atlantis for North America. Sort of set things correct as they got off track a century ago. But it wouldn't just be building a better mousetrap, although I do have a Hamlet-style mousetrap for a certain entity in that industry. People can riddle that however they want, Batman. But a new Hollywood would be something more about consciousness, wouldn't just be movies. Movies were a chapter in my life. I'm out. Moses could only build so many cities for Egypt, that he was meant to do something much more profound. So, someone wants to make the Masonic comedy, I'd be happy to help, but that's not what I'm going to put my energy into. Unless some rich Mason's listening to this and says, "Hey, brother, I've got $1 million budget. You want to make it?" And I might say, "Oh, what the hell else am I doing? Why not? Let's do it."
Might as well.
But I just don't care about much anymore. I only care about the message, whatever medium the message can be communicated through, like right now. What we're doing right now is New Hollywood.
We need a new one, because Hollywood, I went there as a kid, and I'm expecting all this glitz and glamour and bright and shiny, and it was so dark and dingy, and the energy was so negative, and I was just like, can we go back to San Diego, because this sucks.
It was set up to be a new Athens, an art center by Masons, just like Disneyland was set down by Masons. Disney and all them were in the Brotherhood. Founding Fathers set down America, and then bad elements come along and corrupt it. Hollywood started off great. Didn't last. And you see Brother C. DeMille. Any other great Masons in Hollywood? John Wayne. John Wayne was a Mason. Disney, honorary 33rd. And so on. Nowadays we got, what's our current Hollywood crop look like? Not that inspiring. Not that pro-American. So I'd better stop me. I'll get off on a tangent here.
Throw you a bone? Let me see what else we were going to talk about. Montauk. Ties it all together as far as CERN, UFOs, etc.
That hits my brain with a lightning bolt of gigawatts. Let's talk Montauk.
Let's talk Montauk.
I assume your audience is generally familiar with the Montauk Project and all the associated lore and such.
Well, I know a bunch of them are, but could you kind of give them the shortened, nice version of it?
Short version. New World Order knows centuries in advance what they're doing. They set up New Atlantis. Montauk, Long Island, eastern tip, named for the Native American tribe there, is an old mountaintop. There's pyramids off the coast, massive underwater pyramids. It's a high energy zone. So around World War II, Nikola Tesla, smartest man in history in my opinion, his technology leads to the Philadelphia experiment. He, like Einstein, doesn't approve. Technology moves beyond the Philadelphia experiment. Most people lose the trail there, thinking we gave up. Military never gives up on the organization of something like that, and moves out to Long Island. For the sake of storytelling, we rip a chair out of maybe one of Bob Lazar's sport model UFOs or something like it. We connect it to the Stargate we found in Egypt, and we find people with the right Holy Grail, Roslin Pillar, DNA spiral, the Hitler's master race with a splash of Native American blood for the right frequency. And then we strap them into this chair and say, mess with time. Neo the Matrix. Who needs a DeLorean when you got a Montauk chair and you have the secrets? And then they found out that they could not only time travel, but manipulate dimensions and reality and even manifest things. They started experimenting with manifesting beer cans and chairs until they realized we have a 3D printer of reality. That's a scary idea. So the people inside sabotaged it by manifesting a monster. A la Stranger Things, the show was based on Montauk. And my life, because that all happened in 1983 to me. Hundreds of witnesses. Been writing about the upside down and the faceless shadow entity for 33 years before that show came out.
Well, you had mentioned the Philadelphia experiment, and a lot of people don't believe in it, and my grandpa actually has a book about it, and they're like, well, where'd he get that? Well, he has a copy in his, like, special room where he keeps all his medals and all his, stuff that no one shall touch, and he's got his little mini fridge stocked full of beers. But when I went in there to get a beer, I saw this book, and I was like, I didn't think anything of it. I had already known about it, but then when people start saying that didn't exist, that never happened, and I'm like, I saw a book that my grandpa had, and he was in the military for a lot of his life, but I saw it in his special room, and I've seen different articles and such about it, and it was really insane and quite scary what happened. And I believe Tesla was first on the project, but then he didn't want to work on it anymore because he knew the hazards that came along with it, and then Einstein picked it up.
Yeah, and Tesla died at the same year, 1943, so his health probably as well, but yeah, morally didn't want anything to do with it. But you seen the movie The Prestige from 2006 with David Bowie playing Nikola Tesla? There's a wonderful scene where he tells Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, he tells him he's being asked to build a transportation device, very Montauk-y, actually. And the Hugh Jackman's character, the great Danton, a stage magician, he's not concerned with any of the consequences. And he says, cost is no object. And Bowie, as Tesla, just really profoundly just reminds him, have you considered the cost, the real cost? And I believe that's true to Tesla. That's how Tesla, he was a good man and didn't want to see his, he said that he was downloading information from a higher source.
Mm-hmm.
That you don't want it perverted into crude weapons and bestial mentality and base thinking. How profane, how ugly. Yeah, he got out of the project, but that didn't stop the military. They just kept on rolling with it. The militaries will be.
Yeah, and like you said, they don't stop. They adapt and overcome. That's one of the mottos when I was in the Marines that we'd use. Adapt and overcome. Don't quit. You got to keep going. And they didn't give it up. There's just a different version of it. There's more secrecy. More people kept out that were in the loop before, and it's just crazy. And there was another one that they were doing. I think it was in Russia or somewhere like that. Out in the water, and the ship actually got embedded into one of the rock cliff faces over there. With the one we had over here, people were seared into bulkheads and into floors and all kinds of other random places. There were survivors, and who knows what kind of PTSD and other hell they had to go through. But it was just insane. And like you were saying, Tesla was an amazing man. Like, I have a picture of him here in my studio. He is who I've always looked up to, and I feel so bad for him, how he was snuffed out. His character was basically murdered before he was driven to the grave. And then, he had all these crates full of information, and when they were finally able to get to his body after they had their way with everything in the room and were like, okay, you can come in now, there was only 3 crates left out of how many? Like, it was insane. But he always wanted the best for us, the free energy, and so many ways for us to advance. But like you said, he didn't want to go to that dark side, that ingrained like bestiality or whatnot.
He wanted to advance the human race, not stunt its growth, which is what the New World Order's done for a century now. That's the battle people lose sight of so often when they get immersed in politics or religion. Yeah, I always say look to the capstone of the pyramid. That's where the real enemy is, up there.
But yeah, that was just crazy, that experiment. And I'm amazed all the time about how ignorant people can be. And, you know, not only do people think that didn't ever happen, but the Holocaust never happened. Like, give me a freaking break. Like, it did happen. How could you even deny this? There were so many people killed, you know, needlessly, and it was just, how can you not believe in these things? They actually happened, but it's just like mythology. People don't believe in that. I believe it's just a different version of, you know, the history that happened back in that day. It's hard for us to wrap our minds around it now, but I do believe mythology is just another source of our history.
Very much so. And colored by the perceptions of the time, who were not always as primitive as we like to think. They just had a different worldview. It comes down to humans generally just not wanting to deal with it, which is basically fear. They just don't want to face the reality. These things are real. Back to the Philadelphia experiment, the melding and the ship in Russia, the people in the bulkheads in Philadelphia. Nightmarish stuff. But that's the world. I think everyone wants to just hide it. Well, not everyone, but less people now. But for the longest time, several generations at least, maybe human nature throughout history, they've wanted to. They can only deal with so much. They just, it's not happening. It's not happening. That's when you step out of the shadows like Captain Barbossa and say, you best start believing in conspiracy theory. You're in one. It goes over your head. You got President Trump, like it or not. Montauk, John Trump, his uncle, Tesla's papers. People can ignore the conspiracy all they want. I dare say the people in California or the people on 9/11, directed energy, Tesla's technology weaponized.
I'm so glad you said that, because I had Jason Mathis in here, aka Sleepy Dave, and I'm wanting to talk about these directional energy weapons, and he's kind of not wanting to talk about the subject, but I do believe that happened. And like you said, 9/11, like you see people on these certain floors and they're taking their clothes off and they're at the window and they're not even close to where the fire is, but they're feeling this heat, this energy bouncing against them, and they're jumping out windows and they're jumping to their death, and it's just so sad and crazy and insane. And then as you see the building fall, like, these are the tallest buildings in the United States, like in the world basically, and it falls to this little tiny pile of rubble that doesn't even add up to what the building was, and you see this block falling, and as it's falling, it's dissolving into dust before your very eyes. It's not colliding against anything. It's not on fire. It doesn't make sense, and the only thing that does make sense is the directional energy weapon. And I've shared pictures with this fire, and there's these beams seen being shot down. There's trees burning from the inside out in the middle of an unburned area. Yeah, the base of it has a little burn around it, but how could it not with the internal fire going on there? It's just insane, and it makes you wonder, like, what is the agenda?
The technology isn't ours anymore. Might have been ours decades ago, but he's out of the bottle. China, Russia, everyone's got directed energy weapons. Now it could be anyone doing it on behalf of it. To hell with treaties from the 70s. We can't use this on ourselves or on our enemies. We can use it on ourselves, or whatever the loopholes are. They don't even care about the loopholes anymore. Look what they do with elections. The rule book's out the window, so since the technology's all over the planet, I'd still point the finger at China because of all the pre-sale of the land in California, the whole railway they're going to put in, the Agenda 2030, got to get humans out of the wilderness and put them in the cities, and the insurance laws were rewritten or changed. Governor Brown is definitely in the big pedo club. So he's like, okay, change all the rules you want. So once they're burned out, you can't rebuild there. Everything to serve the New World Order in California. And so someone's coming along and Judge Dooming the place, to erasing Toontown for progress. Yeah, it's directed energy, no doubt. Dr. Judy Wood's book, Where Did the Towers Go? People have their questions about Dr. Wood, but the science put on display that she breaks down works with me. 9/11, no seismic impact, free fall speed on all 3 buildings. The cars flipped over blocks away, cars burnt, paper next to them, paper in the car not burnt. And then California, the trees not burnt, but the house burnt, and so on. Yeah, that's directed energy. Back to the Masons for a moment, and family, in fact. My father is a firefighter, captain of the Tacoma Fire Department. That's how he retired. And a lot of the Masons are firefighters. My lodge was built, it was a firefighter's lodge. You had to be a Mason to be a firefighter in Tacoma in the 50s, apparently. My father wasn't. He got in the 70s. But I've talked to a lot of firefighters in the last few weeks, not giving them the context, not saying conspiracy, directed energy, or anything like that, but just saying, as a lifetime firefighter, how does this make sense? Some of the photos from California, for example.
It doesn't. Like the trees, the bushes around these houses should be incinerated. Like, you should only see this little burn mark on the ground where this thing used to be, or the burnt out carcass of the tree, but they're not. And that just goes beyond anything that really makes sense. Like, that should have burned up because it was so close to the house.
Mm-hmm. This is grid pattern. It's like we got the chemtrails and the grid patterns above, and we got the microwave or whatever it is, directed energy in a grid pattern zapping us on the targeted places. I wonder what the apparatus is in some facility offshore or in Dr. Evil's lab, where they got a big screen. Is it like Battleship, where they got little red pegs? We're going to hit this house and this house. And I want to know who the sick people are that program it, because you know what you're doing, but drone pilots, ask them. They're dehumanized. George Lucas warned us, Attack of the Clones. They're going to be on their little computer video games being trained how to be good little bots to do what New World War Big Brother tells them to do.
Well, when I had Kevin Dougal on and we talked about this, there was a great point brought up that perhaps it's the government and they're going to, plow all this stuff down and they're going to rebuild with these government facilities because this is, on the western coast, and they're going to set up these massive facilities to partake in the next war.
Oh, it could be. Again, the land matches up to the Agenda 21, 2030, where humans aren't supposed to be. But that could have changed, and different powers have come in control of not just our government, but regimes change, plans adapt, not to disparage the Marines, but the enemy adapts. They're like the Borg. They adapt and assimilate and change up their plans as they go. It could be that we got some military plans, but I think it would go beyond that. There has to be more insidious profit motive. Like when 9/11 happened, I didn't believe 9/11 when it happened. I didn't fully understand it, but I didn't buy it either. I was like, I wonder why they let that happen. What's the real agenda here? I didn't. But if you think about 9/11 just geopolitically, would they do that only for money? Or is there more like ritual and energy involved by people higher up? I'd bet the California fires might be on a lower level for lower level people who fancy themselves on a higher level, sort of military buildup or something governmental. But I always think that the people that design these things from the start they're conscious of higher ritual. 9/11 can't escape the two towers and the Solomon building references. Someone knew to do that. Now, not just a military choice, that's an occult choice.
Well, and I do believe that they had knowledge about it beforehand. Like, there were black vehicles seen, and they were taking the gold out, and you see these advertisements, buy these coins from, the base of the 9/11 bombings of, these towers, but there really was no gold there. They even said at some point, and a lot of stuff was taken out that we had seen before. Like, there's all this information coming out, and then it's muted because we are, being basically muted on the knowledge that we should be receiving, but we're not, because they don't want us to know. But they did take all the gold out and all these black vehicles, and Moonlight, aka Kevin, was saying $3 million, Matt, 3 trill, and take Saddam away from Saudi Arabia as a threat. But they knew. They took the gold out so they didn't have to dig for it later, and then they blew it up, and the way that it came down was just unnatural. Unless you're doing a demolition, this is how a building would go down. The way it was hit and everything like that, supposedly it would fall into these buildings or into these buildings. It would fall a certain way. It wouldn't go directly down.
Oh, if it was a plane impact, it would have not fallen in the first place. But if it was any traditional collapse, it would have dominoed Zack Snyder's Superman style into the surrounding buildings, which they didn't want to happen because they didn't want people to ask questions. They wanted to. They didn't want lawsuits. No one was ever fired over 9/11. They didn't want investigation. They controlled that demolition, but it was directed energy. But as far as the gold, in my opinion, as far as the gold, they knew far in advance, 6 years at least, because I got to reference my movies. I'm the Hollywood guy. You familiar with Die Hard with a Vengeance? Die Hard 3?
Yeah.
Go look at it more closely, especially where Simon Gruber sets the bomb down in Wall Street and what time it takes place. And it's funny how Dick Cheney was involved with the filmmaking. The director, John McTiernan, even points him out on the commentary briefly, but he was involved. Dick Cheney, really. And what happened? It wasn't a terrorist incident like they told us. As John McClane said, it's a robbery. It's about this gold. Yeah. And when did it happen? On a nice summer morning at 10:20 a.m. Watch when both towers come down on either side of that time. They knew.
They did, and it's sad. And Bush had this whole setup, which he had never done before. Hey, let's go over here to this school, and I'm going to read to these kids, and then I'm going to have some secret agent come and whisper in my ear, and I'm going to be whisked away real quick. And this whole terrible tragedy had happened. Well, he knows. And I've seen videos of him doing rituals with the KKK and other different things. I can't remember what this place was called.
Owen Bonesman.
Yeah, and what was the place? Something Grove?
Oh, Bohemian Grove outside San Francisco. Yeah, Satanic San Francisco.
Yeah.
They get along well with Communist China, Silicon Valley. But George Bush, both Bushes were bonesmen out of Yale. And, 9/11, that book he was reading, upside down. Listen to the class. Plane! Crash! Or whatever they say. You ever see I Pet Goat? That little cartoon?
No.
It's creepy. Oh, if no one's out there seen it, just put into YouTube I Pet Goat 2, as in Roman numeral 2. And you'll see Bush and Obama in some very freaky computer animation for a few minutes, but look at it very closely.
Is that the one that's kind of like the end of the world and the resurrection, etc.?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a very awesome animation. I watched that and I got goosebumps. Like, I was blown away. And it does have the towers in there. It's got all kinds of different references, and it really is kind of mind-opening. To some, it could be mind-boggling, but it was very interesting and amazing animation, and you guys should really, really check that out. I believe it was Christopher, my buddy here in the chat room, that shared that with me, and he's like, you gotta check this out. And I'm so glad he did share that with me because it was amazing.
It is. And they tell us they know these things. In a way, they're manifesting them happening. Borrow it back to Montauk for a moment. Another movie I like to cite is, I know I'm going far afield here, but Ghostbusters. Choose the form of destructor. manifestation. Hollywood, back to Jim Morrison, the weaponized shaman, Laurel Canyon. They have perfected. It's not just that Big Brother. In the old days, they had to sneak into your house to put a bug in your room or wiretap you, but now you buy all the hardware so Big Brother can spy on you through your Xbox and your HD TV and your dishwashers listening to you. They've done the same thing with magic. They've got you to worship all their gods and manifest the world they want through Hollywood. And you pay all the money for it. What a deal. Scary, but true.
Indeed. And Kat in the chat room was saying Back to the Future has plenty of coincidental, like 9/11 references as well. And then Moonlight, aka Kevin, the scenario was written down in a threat report from the CIA to Congress years earlier. The whole plan was taken from the threat report so they could blame it on the CIA if they raised a stink about who was responsible for 9/11.
They even had Bin Laden on the cover, if I'm not mistaken, front and center.
Yeah, let's blame that guy like way over there when we knew what was happening. Not we, but, the government and the higher-ups.
Remember Rambo in the late 80s? He went over there to help the Afghans fight. Oh, that nasty CIA old order manipulating everyone.
Well, even George Bush and, I don't think Obama, but George Bush was weaponizing them. They actually have pictures of them together, shaking hands. We're going to give you weapons so you can fight against these other guys. And then they turn.
Oh, he was arming them just like everyone. And Clinton armed them too, and so did Obama. They just called them ISIS at the time, but it's the same. They just keep changing the name. So Mujahideen, it's Al-Qaeda, it's ISIS. It's all the CIA's pawns, Saruman's orcs. That's all it is to them. Al-Qaeda just means the base. It's a CIA computer system, really. They just give it whatever name sounds good at the time. It's rebranding. But we've been arming them since the 80s. Bin Laden was a CIA asset, I think. And again, Rambo, 1988, Rambo 3. We got to help these people. And that was Bush Sr. was Reagan's vice president. The nastiness was underway.
Yeah, and he had more power, really, than Reagan did at that time.
Hinckley was a friend of the Bush family. They had lunch the day before the bullet almost killed Reagan. After that, Reagan knew he could only go so far or he'd get a JFK moment. Nancy Reagan hated Bush because she knew what an evil bastard he was, whatever.
Yeah, I've always referred to him as the Antichrist. He's the Antichrist.
The whole world's pissed off about the Clintons and the Sotaros because of the whole election thing. Never forget the puppet masters. As evil as the Democrats are, the Bushes, they're Nazis, literally. I mean, that's where their money came from. And the Bushes never leave them out of the picture. Barbara Bush, illegitimate daughter of Aleister Crowley. Look at the eyes.
Look at the eyes.
It's some nasty people.
Yeah, and they are a big staple when you look at the history of all this, these shenanigans going on. They're really big staple in this timeline. They really had a big kind
they
of...
made it so.
Yeah, they had a very big thing over it, and... Go ahead.
The slap Star Trek there, but Picard's make it so.
Yeah.
So mote it be. Abracadabra, manifestation. It's all the same.
And
they
Susan... Oh, go ahead.
History.
Yeah, they have.
Palpatine made himself emperor of the old republic.
So Susan in the chat room was asking again, what is the goat clip that she is supposed to be watching? I'm not good with memorizing things, but you know what it's called. So could you say that again so she could find it?
Pet Goat, Roman numeral 2. I don't think there was an Pet Goat 1. It's a weird title for a weird little video.
So, Moonlight, a.k.a. Kevin, was saying Preston Bush, George's grandfather, was on the board of directors for the bank that bankrolled Hitler's political campaign.
Yep. And the only reason he didn't stand trial at Nuremberg is because he created the, I always forget the name, that military goodwill thing, USO tours. He did that as a PR stunt, so they couldn't try him at Nuremberg. Otherwise, he would have been there, Bush's father. And Bush, by the way, talking Bush Sr. here, can't remember where he was November 22nd, 1963. How about that? And he later went on to be CIA.
Go figure.
CIA. Can't remember where he was when JFK was shot. And what a coincidence. Yeah.
Who'd have thunk it?
Who'd have thunk it? Oh, and he called. Like like an hour and a half after JFK met his magic bullet accident. He called from like an hour and a half away in North Texas. Oh, by the way, I'm up here in case anyone's wondering. I'm not down there. Got it, Bush. Thanks. Got it. Just, yeah. Palpatine taking over. The Sith Lords of the Illuminati, the New World Order. They're real. Most people in Star Wars allowed it to happen because they didn't understand the Force. They didn't think it was, they don't think these things are real. It's just Hollywood, it's just politics. No, it's energy and it's psychology, it's magic. I didn't believe in a lot of that stuff when I went down to, I'll be brief about this, but it's worth saying. I was always I was never closed to things. I believed in ghosts, believed in spirits and things, but I was more of a UFO researcher, hardcore. I want to find the Roswell bodies type of person. But that's like Indiana Jones. I don't believe in magic, a lot of superstitious hocus pocus, until I met it face to face. These things are real. These people and their agenda is, it's a frightening world we live in.
It is, and I often say truth is stranger than fiction. Like, you just can't believe, you can't wrap your mind around what is really going on, and it is. It's real, it's out there, and it is really happening.
It is. You best start believing in conspiracy theories, everyone, because you're in one.
You best hold on to your booty and tuck your head behind your knees.
Ye come seeking adventure. Ye come seeking conspiracy with salty old DeMille way. Sure, you come to the proper place. But keep a third eye open, mateys, and hold on tight with both hands, if you please.
Secure your tinfoil hats. Yeah, and Christopher, he's the one. I love your pirate impression. It's nice. I like to go along with it. But I had to say, Christopher in the chat room, he's the one that shared this goat video with me, and I watched it, and I was just blown away and amazed. And he was talking about, notice near the end, the Phallus Tower and the shining of flight for women, and the symbolism speaks to him too, as well as the movement. And the women will no longer be silenced. But I don't know. There were so many different messages in that short video. It's just, I had to watch it again because it was just so great as far as graphically, and as far as the message, it was like I didn't want to miss anything. So I had to watch it again, and get all of it that I could out of it.
It's a lot to absorb, and that's deliberate. They hide so much in plain sight, but there's so much that it's easy to confuse and misinterpret, and they rely on that to a certain extent, that they let you see what you want to see in it, but the truth is hidden in there. Now, anyone can pick it apart and say, well, I found this. It's on a tile grid. It must be Masonic. They're all evil. You can see what you want to see. The people behind it, though, yeah, they do put a lot of truth in it. They put, like with George Bush, with the blackboard in the beginning, the whole movie is, the whole video, that is a little blackboard where they just put all their notes, here's our plans, here's what we're going to do, and here's a whole bunch of other stuff to throw you off the case. A whole bunch of red herring. But it's scary how much of that video has come true. How much more, you got to wonder.
Yeah, and Kat was saying, I I think with 9/11, too bad the U.S. didn't have the foresight. Well, the government did, but us little peons had no idea. Like, military who are citizens, we're just civilians. So we just get, little things here and there. Citizens and the government have all the knowledge, and we're just left kind of floating in the bay, bobbing around.
Even not all the knowledge, though. The government is so compartmentalized. Where is the control? The puppet masters, the occultists. Not like back in the 90s when I was getting into UFOs, hardcore studying, people would say, like, well, who's in charge? Is it the president? And I'd say, actually, I bet you the president gets told something like, sorry, Mr. President, you don't have a high enough classification. You can't go to Area 51. You wonder how much the government knows and how much is controlled by the offshore banking octagon occult cartel. They can keep control in every government. They don't let any government have total power. They don't want that. That's my theory, anyway. I was going to say something else there and it slipped away. Dang it.
Just move your head around a little bit. You'll catch that thought. I have to do that. I'll be going to do something and I forget, so I'm like, okay, turn around, go back the way you're coming, because that thought flew out of my head, and then I'll get it back again, and then I'll go continue on to my path.
I was going to reiterate my Barbosa quote. Thank you. That helped me come back. But, yeah, you're all in conspiracy. It's going to... I missed a beat in there. Oh, well, let's move on.
Well, we have 2 minutes before our break. So let's see. What shall we say? I'm not seeing any questions or any more comments, except for Moonlight was saying Hitler was a billionaire before the end of World War II. Putin is now a trillionaire. And there's so many insane things that are happening within our hierarchy as far as the government goes, with colluding with Russians, etc., etc. And a lot of people don't believe it, but there's so much proof that does show it, and so much denial that's been proven true. And then Kevin was also talking about the Black Knight satellite, which is a whole different realm.
But part of it, inseparably part of it, I mean, the UFOs have gone back. We've been working on those for a century. We have an occult government around the world. It's not just politicians and dollars and legislation. It's so much more than that.
Indeed. And, Illuminati is often phrased when we're talking about things that are happening behind our back, and I'm not sure how true that is, but they've basically been, their main thing is control of government and the world, basically.
That's the path they're on. That's their nature. In the jungle, the animal will hunt, it will kill. Their path, their understanding is power, and they can never have enough. It doesn't even occur to them to exist in any other form or fashion.
Well, on that note, we have to go to our second break. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these messages.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rockin'. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot THAL. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and I want you to come on a nightly journey. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, every Monday through Friday, you can come hang out with me and the other space travelers. We have it all from Carl the Alien bouncing on by to those misfit gnomes causing havoc. It's 3 hours of fun and entertainment on those topics the mainstream really doesn't want to touch. Come get all paranormal with us at spacedoutradio.com, and together, my friends, along with our resident guitar god Bumblefoot, we own the night.
Sit back, relax, grab a drink, and listen closely. Spaced Out Radio continues through the weekend. From the mile-high mountains of Colorado to you, listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Weekend with Tessa Nicole Thomas.
I love that intro. It's my favorite. The other one, I think it should be switched around. I think that one should be for second hour, and the other one should be for third hour because it kind of tapers down and it's more mellow and slow. But yeah, we're back with Matt DeMille. Welcome back, Matt. It's so great to have you.
Thank you again for having me. Got to say about the coming out of the break, though, whether it's first or second, I like it because it brings up the Colorado. You're in Rocky. Back to Tesla, the Prestige. That's where he is. He's up in the Colorado Rockies. You're in the right place.
Yeah.
That's cool.
We did a security gig up in Rico, Colorado, guarding this mine because people would go out and target shoot, and they had these tanks that were full of these toxic liquids and such. But if you go up the road a little ways, there's actually this little community that is powered by Tesla power. And they can only have so many people living in this community. But I drove through there, although I wasn't supposed to. I had to check it out. I had to see what was going on, and trying to peek through this building to see what exactly is in there, to see what's powering this place. But it was just amazing. Tesla had built this power supply for this community, and like you said, he is in the Rocky Tops, and it's pretty amazing the things that he accomplished.
Amazing entity out amongst us.
So we have Christopher on the line, and he was calling in regarding the goat video. Welcome, Chris.
Hello. I found that video very interesting. It took me like several watches to get the good gist of it.
Yeah, and you had shared it with me, actually, I think over a month ago, and I watched it, and like I said, my mind was blown, and I'm so glad that you did share that with me.
You probably noticed that there's a lot of red herrings, but they're real on the surface, but there's a main timeline to it, too. Like that tower, like I mentioned. You notice that the light shines out by a hand of God. So that, and there's a cross on top. You notice that?
I don't have it in front of me. I'll take your word for it on that one.
That's because of the church and the political system, and light shines through it, and it shows how the corruption in regards to that is what the symbolism. And also the bombing of 9/11 and the marching of the Middle East and Russia. It has it all in there. It's really eerie. It's almost like a map of the current times.
Well, it's like I said, a billboard. It's they put their notes on display for everyone to see. Whether we can understand it or not, that's not their problem.
The author ain't really well known. I tried to research him.
What author?
The author of that film. And
the creator of the video?
Yes.
Even if I didn't research him. I don't know anything about him. It's like in Hollywood. The people that create the content, though, aren't necessarily the people behind information. They take direction from others.
Oh, okay. You
Compartmentalize.
totally understand.
Right.
You would understand this better than I would, since you're in the business.
I was in the business, not anymore. Thankfully.
Yeah.
It's just the part of the profile, the psychological approach that they take to these things. It's how they think. Like when you watch forensics or something, you have to get in the mind of the serial killer. You understand the occult. You got a weird mindset.
You notice the end of lotus flowers, right?
I think so. Again, it's been a long time since I've watched it.
The lotus flower represents knowledge, and in all oneness. And at the end, you see all these flowers falling in the sea towards the sunrise.
I'm sorry, go on.
And the sunrise, and then you look back, and you're on this boat, and you see everything crumble.
I'd have to take another look at it. I mean, you can never look at it. I've looked at it 100 times, and you can always see more things in it. But the lotus, knowledge, the whole Jesus metaphor with the heart, I definitely remember that being part of it, and the crumbling boat. It all basically means the same thing. The old systems, every system that's external is fallible. Anything created by man can crumble. What you're supposed to do is look inside. The real knowledge, the real heart, the real Jesus, it's all inside you. And the new world that's coming, for better or worse, or whether the Illuminati is in control of it or not, they recognize the inevitability of the old systems crumbling and collapsing. The boat crumbling, it's the ark, it's a boat. And it's only a box. It's not what's external that's important, it's what's internal. It's why the ark is empty. It doesn't really have to contain granite commandments. The commandments are in you. When you break them in a Moses way, you're breaking your connection to the pineal gland, really. So what they're telling us is the future is not going to be about worshiping external institutions or relying on the mechanizations that we have for so long. It's going to be a whole paradigm shift that is going from the external pursuit to the internal mastery. They will use dark purposes. They want to master everyone. Palpatine. I want to pop his Death Star. Sorry, Palp, but that's what Moses does. He breaks chains and says, hey, everyone, here's the answers, here's the secrets, it's simple, and you can tell your slave masters to go F themselves.
I have a feeling that's happening right now with a realignment.
Hey, Christopher, did you go outside and step in front of a fan or something? There's a lot of background noise.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, I can still hear it.
Now?
No, not quite. But you were also talking about like the phallic symbol and the woman who had her top off and stuff in that tower. And when you do look in the background, that's like the thing crumbling. And I think it's, the sort of sexual agenda and such that's been going on for so long. And it's not just women, it's children, it's other people that have been affected by it. But that part of our society, I think, is crumbling, and I kind of find that to be the message in that part of it. But you can see a lot of pain and turmoil and such in this video, and like you had said earlier, it's very prophetic.
Meant to be prophetic. Indeed.
You guys are awesome. It's nice to talk to like-minded people.
Well, I'm so glad you called in, Christopher, and I'm so glad you shared that video with me.
It's nice talking to you, so hope you have a good night, Matt and Tess.
Thank you. Good talking to you, too. Good question. Good topic.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Good night, Christopher. Thanks again for calling in.
Bye.
Yeah, he had a quiet background at first, and then it got very loud. But that was a very prophetic video, and I do encourage people to watch it because it does have a lot of messages, and I can't wait to see what they come out with next.
I don't know if that video is copyrighted. Maybe if we make the Masonic movie, we could have like a Looney Tunes Warner Brothers cartoon pre-show of I Pet Goat 3.
Yeah, and being this was 2, perhaps it would be 4. I'm not sure how that would work out.
I Pet Goat 33 and a third.
Right? But yeah, we've touched on so many things, and man, yeah, there's so many crazy things going out there. I'm trying to figure out.
If anything is fine.
Yes, it's a plethora of conspiracy and different messages and things that are going on there, really not in the background but the forefront. To most of us it does seem like the background, but it's interesting indeed.
Questions from chat room perhaps, or anything that's just been we're never going to cover everything anyway, so just whatever is on the mind is fine.
Yeah, well, I've been looking and I'm not seeing any questions at the moment. But, you know, as far as Montauk, CERN and UFOs, like, what is the connection there? And I do think CERN has been very active in recent years.
Well, let's not forget that CERN is in Switzerland, the land of Octagon, the New World Order fallen Templar Sith Lord banking cartel. UFOs. Back to 9/11, there's an interesting connection that most conspiracy theorists or researchers miss. General Limnitzer of NATO. General Lyman Limnitzer was overseer of Sergeant Major Robert Dean, who recently passed this year. Alas, we've had so many this year. Ann Lee, Art Bell, Robert Dean, ouch. But he was one of the people that brought out UFO information.
Mm-hmm.
When there from 61 to 64, he read the assessment, the NATO report on UFOs in Europe. And Limnitzer was his... Limnitzer was deputy commander. He was working for Pike, of all names, Pike. A little Star Trek, little Masonry there.
Mm-hmm.
Limnitzer is the one that wrote up Operation Northwoods, 9/11 set in Miami circa 1962, and JFK said, no way. And one of the many reasons he got a magic bullet therapy a year later. But the whole UFO thing is mixed into the same people and the Stargate program. 9/11 was not just geopolitical. It wasn't just using directed energy. Directed energy is part of the whole occult science, as we know. 9/11, in my opinion, was a gateway for some. To borrow from the late, great Dr. Egon Spangler, something terrible entered our world, and those buildings were obviously the door. You can substitute Aleister Crowley and Ivo Shandor and find them in New York and Pasadena and find the military-industrial complex inseparable. Side chapter, but I think I've talked about it before, but everything about Ghostbusters was correct. Dan Aykroyd wrote it to Long Island next to Montauk while Montauk was going down in 1983. I've met Dan Aykroyd. So, I love his vodka, his Crystal Skull vodka. But
yeah, I want to try it.
It's very good because there's no hangover. It's so pure, or at least I'm half alien, but it really doesn't poison your system. You can enjoy it, and it doesn't give you a bad hangover. It's very pure, very clean stuff.
And he seems like a very awesome and sincere and honest guy, and he's actually gone through a bunch of UFO and other things as well.
Dan Aykroyd is awesome. He's one of the few celebrities in Hollywood that I get starstruck for.
Mm-hmm. Ditto.
Interdimensional physics, directed energy, frequency and vibration, Tesla, Montauk, it all comes together at 9/11. And with UFOs, you have to wonder, back in the day when Crowley did his Babylon. Well, no, he didn't do it, but Hubbard and Jack Parsons did, using his research, his notes. They went out to Pasadena and ripped open the Devil's Gate that the natives warned them to avoid. And then that's where Jet Propulsion Laboratories is now, that Jack Parsons started. The whole UFO program, the whole rocketry program, the whole NASA, Nazi scientist, it's all the same thing. I don't know if we're dealing with UFOs or interdimensional, probably more interdimensional. Crowley brought Lam, the gray alien, through the portal, and then I had a misadventure in that exact same location in 2011, and that's when I had my walk-in, and I wandered into the Devil's Gate wearing my Indiana Jones hat. Didn't know anything about it at the time. That's a long story. I don't know if I could summarize it here, but I've told it before, I think. But possession, this is where my marriage went downhill.
Well, I'd love to hear about it, because I don't recall us really talking about it. I know we had kind of hit on it a little bit last time you were on, but it was a kind of a sensitive topic, and we didn't know each other very well at that point, so I'd love to hear the story.
Okay, well, I'll talk about it. Let me, I'll make my point, and that'll lead into it. Everything is dealing with an interdimensional reality. You know, it's not just military, it's stargates, entities coming through, it's all this stuff. So the UFOs, the military program going back decades, from Kennedy's assassination to 9/11, it all connects. Ask General Limitzer, well, I think he's dead now, but Hollywood was chosen by Masons. Los Angeles, the City of Angels, was chosen as a location, much like Montauk, because of its energy. They understood these principles. And to this day, there's so much dark energy because the whole place has been polluted with the wrong consciousness over 100 years. Sort of like you look at the city streets of Los Angeles and they're all dirty. It didn't used to be that way. It just used to be wilderness. Humans came along and quote-unquote civilized it, dirtied it up. We came along, Brother Masons and others, and made an art colony 100 years ago, and then dark people have made it so, make it so, evil ever since. And in Pasadena, I have to give you the geography. You know the Rose Bowl. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows what the Rose Bowl is. If you go south, you'll end up at Doc Brown's house, the exterior location of filming. It's a ritual place where the OTO hung out, the Ordo Templi Ortis, the false Templar, Aleister Crowley, Parsons Hubbard, secret society of military-industrial complex Hollywood. Some of my rivals at film school had relatives there. I made powerful enemies. And Dr. Jones has got to piss off everyone everywhere he goes. That's what they do. My fiancée, Jessica, liked to hike. I didn't so much because I'm not fond of snakes. Indiana Jones. When you hike the Griffith Park trails, around the observatory, places like that, there's signs all over the place. Beware of rattlesnakes. Not a place I like to go for fun, but she wants to go hike, I'll go hike. She looks around L.A., let's try hiking here, let's try hiking there. And I'm like, okay. One day she takes me out, we park next to the baseball diamond by the Rose Bowl, or by JPL. There's a few baseball fields up there. Baseball field, by the way, is a square and compass. If you look at it from above, the base men go in circles, that they're trying to go home, but they never achieve 3 of 3. They stay on a lateral plane, 2 of 3. National pastime. Story for another time. We park, and she's like, let's go hiking. Hiked about a quarter mile into the Arroyo Socorro water runoff, just south of JPL. I'm sorry, I got my geography confused.
Oh, no worries.
If you go north of the Rose Bowl, you get to Devil's Gate, and this whole area is like a half-mile little area. It's a watershed runoff where the Devil's Gate used to be a river, and the Native Americans warned us it was a portal zone. And then we dammed it up, built Pasadena, built the Rose Bowl, except that little river that runs by the Rose Bowl, that's where it's from. That's all that's left of the once mighty river. And just north of that is Jet Propulsion Laboratory. So we park, we walk out, we go hiking, we get to this watershed runoff. We're in the shadow of JPL. We are at ground zero, as far as I can tell from Google Earth, the exact spot, down to 10 feet, give or take 10 feet, yards, where Parsons and Hubbard did Crowley's Babylon working and brought through God knows what. They call it Jack Parsons Laboratory instead of Jet Propulsion Laboratory because it was his rocketry that began it all. When we were there, I had a walk-in, a possession, something, Ghostbusters. I didn't have a milk bone.
No.
Poor little pooch. I don't know what happened. I just thought I got sick. I know what panic attacks are. I used to get them. I went through all the SSRI drugs back in 1999-ish. I went cold turkey off them in 2004. I had enough of the side effects. Those things are poison. I know what panic attacks are. I know what anxiety attacks are. This was totally different. This was, Jessica, just go home. I'm profanity allowed on this show?
Okay. Some no SH or F words.
Beep beep. I'm beep 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 beeped up. Something like that.
Yeah.
And part of the geography I left out. Sorry, there's so much in the area. Between the Rose Bowl and the freeway that cuts across the area is Suicide Bridge, built in 1913, and they've had over 200 suicides by people jumping off of it, to the point where they've built big, you see it on so many low-budget TV shows. If you see someone filming a night scene on a bridge with big tall lights and a big metal fence, that's the bridge. It's closed to the driving, but you can pedestrian walk over it. But they don't want people jumping to their death. There's something about the energy of the Devil's Gate that gets into people, and it got into me, because for the next month, every time I got upset, which was often because everything was going wrong in our lives, running afoul of the OTO and the communist mafia and the satanic mafia and the pizza pedophile peddlers, and there was a lot of stress going on. Shields were down. Anything could get in. And it did. I had this compulsion to jump off the roof and kill myself. For a month, anytime I'd get upset, why should I just go up to the roof and sorry, I slipped, jump off and kill myself. You can beep that out. This didn't help my relationship with Jessica. There was a lot worse. There were things in that apartment. I'd love to get Dr. Spangler and his PKE meter to go back there. If anyone's curious, Franklin Plaza Apartments. I'm blocking the address from my mind. Corner of Franklin Avenue and Gramercy in Los Feliz, just underneath AFI and the Griffiths Observatory. Unit 405, 4th floor. That was our corner penthouse of Spook Central. Haunted as hell. Ley lines coming off the Griffith Hills. Other tenants reported all kinds of paranormal activity in that building. It's an old hotel, 100-year-old hotel converted to apartments. All kinds of things probably happened in there. But I was more or less possessed. I don't know what you call it, a walk-in, a possession, an influence. But that's the last I ever saw of my fiancée. And I had several years of self-exorcism to deal with because I had no friends, no support. Everyone calling me conspiracy nut job and Snopes, and that's why I'm a bitter person these days. And one reason I joined the Masons, I forgot to say earlier, loyalty. I didn't have it from anyone, so the Masons professed to be loyal, and you know what? So far, so good. I give credit where it's due. I was curious if there's anyone amongst human beings that could actually be loyal. And that's what they're all about, so let's see. That's one reason I joined. One reason. But it took a lot of suffering in the dark alone. I'm not trying to be melodramatic. I'm being literal. I'm talking about meditation, just hours, days, weeks, months, years, soul-searching, reflecting, watching everything you loved in life fall apart and realizing your ability to make synchronicity look like synchronicity when there's actually more control than that.
Yeah.
It scares me what I can do, and I don't like to use that for dark purposes. So I really just had to Bruce Banner. I had to bottle myself up and go away for years.
Mm-hmm.
And no one really understood why. Had to turn down some relationships that would have been conventionally pleasing, but I wouldn't have taken care of the real problem. I refer to it jokingly as Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Mm-hmm.
Drink the blood of Kali. Well, I drank a lot of the Kool-Aid down there. No matter how strong you are, like the Ring of Sauron, it will overtake you. You will start to move your line like Jessica and I. It's vices start to take hold. I'm not talking cannabis. I'm talking Hollywood vices, temptations. Those parties are a blackmail trap. And I never got caught by one, but they tried. And they were more and more tempting. You just lose your willpower. It eats away at everyone there. You can't escape it. Get out. That's what the Dark Force said to me the first night I was there in the apartment. Get out. Scared the hell out of me, but I had 3 years to stay there with a Pirates of the Caribbean Indiana Jones decorated apartment with a bunch of skulls and the foolish notion that supernatural can't happen to me. That can. Yeah, it really can.
Yeah, and it's like right when you say that, it does.
And when I left, Jessica was already gone. She fled in terror. When I closed that door the final time, and I could feel the energy of that building pushing me out. Franklin Plaza Apartments. Go ghost hunting. There's something there. I would not step foot back in that building without a proton pack, a whip, a gun, and a lightsaber.
Right.
And
make sure you're highly
a
protected.
Marine, a Colonial Marines. I want Hudson and Hicks behind me at all times. Nasty place. So I'm actually getting the chills thinking back to it. The story I just told you is absolutely true. It's very streamlined. There are plenty of details for the devil. You know what I told them? When you join Masonry, there's one qualification you have to have. You have to believe in a supreme being. Doesn't matter what it is. It can be Yahweh, it can be Jehovah, it can be Odin. We have one guy in our Blue Lodge who worships the Norse gods, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
So anything's welcome. But you have to believe in something beyond the physical. You have to have a concept of a higher purpose and spirituality. And I told them, guys, I didn't believe in God as much until I met the devil.
Yeah, it really does open your eyes, and it does make you ask a lot of questions and question a lot of things that you thought you knew before. But Alan in the chat room was saying, you couldn't drag me within 1,000 yards of the Devil's Gate. I know it well. But yeah, I don't know. I love investigating the paranormal. I have a group for that. But I don't know if I'd want to go there. I don't like demons.
I wouldn't go there unprepared. In 2013, when I still had some friends left, and some AFI fellows, for example, who are still living down there, got camera crews, got film crews, and I was trying to tell them, and they're like, maybe we should go down there. And I said, do you want to come down? And I said, I would only go down under certain conditions. One of those would be, and I tested people for years and everyone failed, trust. Finding anyone I trust to really open up to and not shut me out as a conspiracy nut job or a Snopes thing. None of my friends from childhood, high school, nobody had the tits or the testicles to bother to even look at the evidence. And they were like, oh, let's go down there and film something. I'm like, you want me to go there? You're not realizing I'm not just going to go there casually. It's not a film project. I don't want to go without people, a group of people that have a vibration of trust, that I have a bond with, because I don't want my spiritual shields to be down again. And then on top of that, you better bring a high-def camera crew with you. You bet, just in case. But first and foremost is, I don't want to go there without a group, not a single person, but a group of people that are on the right spiritual resonance. Otherwise, it's risky. It's not just, it's like a Ghost Hunters TV show. Let's roam around with our night vision and see if something goes bump in the night. No. That stuff gets into your soul. You don't even know it until days later, and then your life is changed forever. You don't play around with this stuff at all.
Well, I have a really awesome and diverse group for my team, so it'd be awesome for us to all meet up someday and perhaps take on that venture, because we do take it very seriously, and we do have a high amount of respect for all levels of what's really going on. It's not a game. It is very serious, and we do this work for free for people all the time in our area. We're just trying to help people heal and get past these things, or get to know and coexist with the spirit. Sometimes it's good, but a lot of times, like you're saying, it's just this really dark, evil presence and entity and energy, and it can really cause a lot of issues for you.
Sometimes you just need to call the Ghostbusters.
Right? Or Four Corners Paranormal Investigations. Well, we got a caller here from area code 313. Who are we talking to?
Oh, this is Moonlight. How you doing tonight?
Good. How are you, Mooney?
Very good.
Doing good. Happy birthday, dear.
Thank you.
And Matt, you're doing good. Good show tonight, man.
Thanks. I got to say, 313, awesome area code. 313.
330, Matt. 330.
Still, you got
Northeastern Ohio.
That's cool.
But yeah, I wish good thing, anyways. But anyway.
That was my mistake.
Anyway.
Sorry.
I had a couple questions for you here. The first one I wanted to touch on Montauk, when you were talking about the power out there. You said off the coast there was a power source, the
Pyramid.
energy line or whatever there. Could you
Pyramid.
touch on that again?
There's a couple of pyramids. I think you can look at them on Google Earth. But a few years ago, people found these 4-mile-tall pyramids or something in the Atlantic Ocean, not far from Montauk. But all of Long Island is a mountaintop, and you got to go back pre-Diluvian times, Atlantis and further back when we had a lower sea level, and the coastline was very different. And maybe back hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years, however old human civilization might be. We got pyramids everywhere, but we got them submerged as well, and right next to Montauk. So I think it's the whole island, especially the eastern point where the Montauk project was located, Camp Hero. It's where energy concentrates. Ley lines, wherever they cross, they create vortices, node points, and I dare say portals. And if you're going to set up a Stargate project, you set it up there, where the portals naturally are.
Well, cool. And because I have a hard time whenever they talk about the ley lines and the energy lines, when they map them out, the eastern half of the United States is like never listed on any of the maps, and that's why I was kind of interested about that whenever you said that. And I will definitely check it out and see the ocean map, see if I can pinpoint that. Have you ever heard about there might be a pyramid in Alaska that's under the snow and buried down there, an energy pyramid, big one?
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen any convincing photo. Not to say I'm not convinced it's there, but the photos I've seen are not. It's like the pyramids in China or every once in a while someone posts a picture of a pyramid underwater with divers, and it's clearly the Great Pyramid of Giza with a blue filter over it. But I'm sure there's these pyramids all over the place. Alaska, sure, it makes sense. We built HARP up there. We know things about energy they don't tell us, so I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised there's a whole bunch of pyramids up there. We got 13 of them in Crimea. We got all kinds of pyramids at the Giza site they have unearthed. We got them in Cambodia. We've got them in Antarctica. Why not at Alaska? I think they're all over the place. Atlantis was a seafaring worldwide culture, and pyramids was how we rolled. I'd love to see what's up in Alaska. 100 years from now, we'll have a tourist attraction up there we'll have a Sphinx or something up there. I don't know. Anything could be up there.
Yeah, that'd be great, because it's always like in North America is like lacking on a lot of the stuff, whether we're hiding it, whether the government's hiding it, or what's going on. Something's just lacking here on this continent.
The secret history to North America that I'm working on uncovering, and it's odd to me that no one else has, back to the Templars and the Masons. Lewis and Clark were brother Masons. They got along with the natives in ways that others didn't. Reason for that is the Templars penetrated the North American continent around about 1,000 years ago, around the time of the Vikings. And we set up traditions that never went away. And centuries later, when Europe came knocking and slashing and burning, it wasn't until the Founding Fathers set down the old traditions and we started to explore again that we revisited those. But we've known about the hidden America, the new Atlantis, for centuries. I'm sure there's stuff hidden all over the place. I hear there's a Sphinx in the Colorado Rockies. There's pyramids under the Great Lakes. Back in one of the things of the old Art Bell show, the Miami Circle, the Stonehenge they found in Miami, they were going to bulldoze up as a condominium development, and Art Bell's followers stopped them and got it preserved. A Stonehenge in Florida.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I think there's everywhere. It's all over the place. Yeah, we just haven't had Europe has had more time for everyone to dig around and find everything. America's a relatively unexplored continent, especially when you get up to Canada. God knows what's up there.
Yeah, there's so much of that that's not even populated.
Got all that stuff, the star people that they talked about. Yeah, the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Incans all talked about the star people and built pyramids. Yeah.
And a lot of stuff is submerged. Like we find certain rocks that Vikings had carved on that you can only see during a certain part of the tide. And like you're saying, these pyramids off the coast and other things. Like a lot of things were land-based at one time, but now they're underwater. So I think that's a big part of it. As well as deserts, like sand covers so many things. And people in Egypt are finding that, like digging up new things all the time. Like you said, there's so many things out there, they're just kind of hidden to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we've had no reason to dig in America, really, except for maybe for oil. But Europe has had thousands of years to do all their digging and rebuilding. But America, you could have a pyramid in your backyard and not know it. No one's ever dug there.
And another thing, though, we did have all the glaciers that moved down, so a lot of that stuff that was there could have got destroyed, ground up.
Yeah, that too. Being up here in Washington and the Pacific Northwest, where we got all that massive runoff, the Columbia River, all the landscape gouged out by the melting glacier, would have wiped out any civilization. Absolutely.
What about the rumors about that the cave out in the Grand Canyon where they supposedly found all the different rooms in the cave that were different civilizations, where they found, one room was all Egyptian stuff, another one was supposedly Chinese origins and stuff like that. And,
I don't know about
remember?
that. I don't know about that case specifically, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a time capsule set there by the ancients. At the end of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, when he's in whether people like the movie or not, the ideas in there are great. At the end, when they're in the pyramid and they have all the treasure from different cultures collected, I think that's something ancients do, where the chamber that Casey talked about under the left paw of the Sphinx, a little preservation chamber of what had come before and what humans had forgotten or will be doomed to forget. I wouldn't be surprised at all if there was a chamber or a series of chambers or even an underground city in the Grand Canyon or somewhere around there. We find those around the world as well, underground cities, because they prepare for cataclysms that recur. And we're not preparing. Well, maybe in secret governments are, but the general population watching football, playing Xbox, there's no conspiracies.
Yeah, that's what we're good at, keeping people occupied. And basically that's what Trump's good at, keeping people occupied so we don't pay attention to what's being passed through Congress. And,
think of the story of, or the legend of Noah's Ark. There's always this recurrence of preparation for a cataclysm and to survive it, and some do and some don't listen. I think we got a new ice age upon us, the Atlantean cycle, I call it, and don't know if we'll have to go underground. But
that was a good question.
That's for sure.
How far we can move south, or is it going to cover the entire Earth or not? And, anyways, I appreciate it, Matt. Good show tonight, guys. And I'm
Thanks,
going to get on after the show.
All right. Hope to see you at the after party, birthday party. But thanks so much for calling in, Kevin. It was great to hear from you.
You too. I'll talk after that. Thank you.
Thanks again for the topics. Again, these are good questions. I'm going to have to look into this thing with the Grand Canyon now. And I've got something new to research.
That's always nice. I love it. Just expanding your mind and your horizons and your knowledge. Bill in the chat room was asking Lemurian culture of the past plus use of crystals they use. Do you have any input on that?
Absolutely. I intuitively have always loved crystals. From the earliest age, The Dark Crystal was my favorite film as a child.
Yeah, that was awesome.
When I first learned about crystal skulls, I was immediately fascinated and never let them go. Worked them into my role-playing games. Anyone since I spent 20-odd years being a role-play game designer, a game master, if you've been through my adventures, at some point in the dungeon, at some point in the haunted wizard's tower, you're going to find a crystal skull, a crystal sword, a crystal something. I love my crystals. And I think that's intuitively because that's the technology we had. That was the world that I know is correct. There's so much to crystals. They're an element, they're an organism, they're a repository of information on a scale that we can barely comprehend. I can see them being a far more efficient technology. And my mother was a bartender for many, many years. She loved to do it. She loved people. She doesn't bartend anymore, just age, lungs. But back in the day, when she was bartending, this military guy came in and loose lips. He said he was going on about how we got stuff, and this is back in the time of the first Gulf police action, 1991. Can't call it a Gulf War. It wasn't much of a war. But he said, I'm not worried about Saddam. We've got technology they'll never have, this crystal technology. And he just started spilling his guts, and my mom comes home and says, you want to hear what this guy said? I'm like, yes, I do. Crystals. The Lemurians, the Atlanteans, and I'm sure many other civilizations used them. When that technology was lost to us, there's not much account of the Egyptians or the Mesopotamians or any one of accepted ancient civilization. Isn't that funny? Accepted ancient history only goes as far back as to when we lost the technology. That's as far as historians allow us to look. Babylonians didn't use crystals. Egyptians didn't use crystals. The Greeks didn't use crystals. Convenient. But the crystals are there. So can we go back further? Nope. There is no further. There was no Atlantis. Do I have to reach for my BS button? I have one.
Hit that.
Keep one on my desk. I wish I had one back in public school. I would have got a lot of fun out of that. Yeah, the crystal technology is the advanced technology that we have to work our way toward. To borrow from the Alien Interview recreation of 1997, when they were talking about the psychics working with the gray alien at Dreamland, the alien is reported to have said, when asked about technology, he said, technology is a natural excrescence of the human experience. That technology is a process that the human vessel, our body, uses to perfect itself. Meaning it's not an end in and of itself. It's an external. It's a throwaway. Back to the external versus internal, the true heart, the true arc, the true centered in your circle. Mount Sinai means reflection. Reflection upon yourself. Self-mastery is what it all means. They don't want that. So they have marijuana prohibited. They have history books cut off. They keep the information from us, yeah. And crystals, they don't want us to have that either, because it's the process we're supposed to get back to where we can have a technology that doesn't require a mass corrupt manufacturing infrastructure. Crystals, like marijuana, marijuana doesn't require a pharmaceutical industry. Crystals don't require big factories and big bureaucracy and laws. Crystals, they're there, and they have everything you need. So they don't want us to think they're anything more than curiosities, geology. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. In fact, there's everything to see there. I used to get PTSD looking into the eyes of when Indiana Jones is in the chair, tied up by the Russians, looking into the crystal skull. Jessica had to hold my hand in the theater because that scene freaked me out. There's a lot in those crystals. There's everything. Back when I was in computers in the late 80s, and we were still dealing with, imagine this, high-tech 9600 baud phone modems and a 40 megabyte hard drive. That was high-tech. They were talking about crystal hard drives. I said, crystal hard drives? And I said, yeah, because on a hard drive you can only fit one layer of information, whatever that means. They said, but in a crystal, you can get, all you have to do is change the color frequency. I'm like, okay, whatever that means. But in the same physical space, because there's, 8.3 million different colors in the spectrum, they can break it down. You can have 8.3 million times the same amount of data stored in the same physical space. You just access it by changing the frequency of light. And that's just the beginning of, that's in the 1980s public domain, what we're tapping with crystals. What did these aliens or ancients do with these crystal skulls and everything else? Wow. Oh, yeah. I'm sure the Lemurians and the Atlanteans had it down, and they could do everything in life by these crystals. They probably had a crystal skull in the center of the house, and that could heat, cool, cook, clothe, do everything. They'd find what they needed. Well, let's just touch the skull, and it'll affect our DNA, and no medicine needed. Get in touch with your medical, But we are such a fallen race. We are so profane, cast out of the true heaven, the true state of mind of being in touch with the cosmos, that we don't even think these things are possible. We think we have to build rockets to go colonize and plunder other planets like it's the 1500s. No. 21st century, Great Awakening, let's get with it. Let's return, like Oxley wrote all over his cell. the ox. It's one of the 4 symbols of the 4 tribes of Judea. That's why it's in there. But let's return of the Jedi. Return to center. Return the crystal skull. Return everything to center. There's nothing. There's no material conquest of wealth or nations and flags and fame. And Indiana Jones does not seek fortune and glory. Only illumination, Junior. That's what it's all about.
Indeed. And my mentor, she had actually began to teach me about stones and crystals and all of these other elements, and she ended up passing away from cancer, but I inherited a lot of her books, so I'm still, trying to learn from her. And there is so much out there about it, and people think of it as like hippie mojo, whatever going on, but there is really a lot to it.
Never forget the hippie movement was another government psyop designed to throw us off of anything worthwhile. Whether it was a formal protest of war or a consumption of cannabis or peace, they used the hippies to pervert those ideas in the public consciousness. Crystals included. They don't want us to have that. All the more reason we should. Anything they say we're not supposed to have. I'd like a double order of that, please.
Right? And step on it.
Yep.
Man, we're like almost out of time, and there's so many different things that I wanted to talk to you about tonight that we didn't get to hit on. So I hope someday you'd like to come back and relive and talk about these things with me.
I would be honored. As I said before, you're the first program to ever have the courage or the foolishness, so I'm very well, my story of being abandoned and betrayed, I have a soft spot for being asked. So if you ask me back, I'd be happy to come back, and it's nice to be appreciated and heard and listened to. Thank you.
No worries, and I love all the information and knowledge that you have to share. And we have a little less than 6 minutes left, so what should we hit on for this last 6 minutes? Is there anything out there going on at this moment that our listeners should know about, that you are aware of?
In 6 minutes, it's your birthday, so birthday girl, why don't you, whatever you want to know, this is your special time.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff, like we were talking about. Somebody was saying there's like 3 different Atlantises that a lot of people don't know about, and we were going to talk about the new Atlantis and the New World Order and several different other things that I don't think we can even hit on in these last 2 minutes we got.
Real brief, Atlantis is a catch-all name. There's probably many civilizations that have their own name. And the New World Order, they want it, but they want it for the wrong reasons. They pervert it like they do everything. We got to do it right. And that's the collective test of humanity that we all achieve through our individual parts. Individual little metachlorians as part of the greater whole of Gaia or something like that.
And I'm trying to find this comment because somebody was saying that it was a place that you should visit. It's a really awesome healing hotspot. I'm trying to scroll through the questions, find it. Where is it? If you're out there and you're still listening, go ahead and reshare that, because I believe it was in Montana, somewhere like that. Mount Adams at the base or something like that. I'm trying to remember, but I have all the timers, so I don't remember things quite as I should.
I'm easily accessible too, so any questions can be sent to me in the future. So I can always answer it later on.
For sure. And everybody's saying what an awesome guest you were tonight, and we would really, really love to have you back. And generally, coming up here in about 30 seconds is when I would have you share all your information, but you can go ahead and start hitting on it now. Like, I know you have YouTube videos out there, different things you've recorded, and how can our listeners find those and get a hold of you?
That's it, really. I'm stuck in the 90s in many ways with my landline. I don't have a cell phone. I do not have a laptop, an iPad, a cell phone of any kind. I have a desktop computer. I don't have a Twitter or anything like that. I only have a Facebook and a YouTube. Until they censor me.
Right.
No backup channels. I'm just doing it. I'm having faith, if you will, that if the message is to be heard, it will be heard, and I leave it there for public perusal. You can, the vast library of stuff, and I don't have any Patreon or any way, nothing hidden. I just have it all up front. Anything I can tell publicly. It's all about just telling getting the information, telling the truth.
Well, that's awesome, and thank you so much again for being my guest tonight. It was really wonderful having you on the show this evening, and I look forward to having you back again.
Thank you again. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor, and I'd be happy to come back.
Well, I hope you hang in there and hang out with us on the after party. It's my birthday, so we're going to have some fun.
Does the phone carry? I'm going to need something to... Skype is not working. I'll need a way to get in there.
Okay, well, you're already in. We'll just be adding people to the call.
Oh, okay. So I'll just stay on here then.
Alrighty.
Is the show concluded, or are we still on the air?
We're still on, and I'm going to do my outro here really quick, and then I'll be talking to you in a few.
Alrighty.
So thank you so much to everyone in Spaced Out Radio, Facebook, Spreaker, Twitter, Paranormal Radio, TalkStream Live, Deep Talk Radio, and wherever else in the universe you are listening tonight. I had a wonderful time this evening, and it was my pleasure, literally and figuratively, and I can't wait to do it again next weekend on spacedoutradio.com. Until next time, nighty-night, love and light to all my space cases out there. You guys, don't forget, we are all in this together. Together we can make the world a little better, and together, my friends, we own the night. You guys have a wonderful week. Don't work too hard. Take care of my yous, and I'll see you back here next weekend. And if you'd like, come on in to the Spaced Out Radio after party where we're having a birthday party. 970-335-9596. Hope to see you there. You guys take it easy.